of your favorite show. And producer, 5'11" from Blanchester, the Cow Killer, Casey McCollister. And comic engineer, standing at 4'8", the pride of the West Side, Elliot Rearing. And your host, weighing 150 pounds, soaking wet, from Hamilton, Ohio, Ace Fowler.
Hello and welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers on a lovely Thursday, June 20th, 2024. I got Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett.
Right.
We got a full show for you today. Elliot planned it packed full of content. Jimmy's voice is very hoarse because he sang so much yesterday. He's in his Spanish soccer kit. Casey is now a wanted criminal in the city of Cincinnati and Hamilton County, so he might have to report to jail after today's show. But we will unfold all of that because we're going to do a little FCC segment, talk about you guys filming, because you guys filmed yesterday. We're going to talk about the Reds. They lost the series to the Pirates. We're going to do a buy or sell. We're going to talk about the potential quarterback salary cap in the NFL. And then to end the show, for our non-radio listeners, we're going to do a little snake draft of Cincinnati famous athletes who will have the best team. All that and more today on Off the Bench. Elliot Rearing, you look chipper today on this Thursday.
I am chipper. Listen, we went out yesterday. It was 1,000 degrees, and I kept having the debate with a friend of mine that being out in 30-degree weather is significantly better than being out in 110-degree weather in pants. I'll stand by this take until the day that I die. So I'm ready to roll. I'm very happy. I took the new way to work today. It did add a couple minutes, but I did avoid the traffic light. So whatever have you.
It's a give and take.
Listen, and by the way, shout out to Mouse Cop 2 in the chat. Mouse Cop 2 made an appearance for our good friend Mouse Cop. But yeah, it's a very happy day. It's a good day to be alive.
Did you like the new route to work, or was it
It was fine. It just added some more minutes.
Okay.
It added some more minutes, so I probably won't do it a ton. But yeah, it was whatever. It was whatever.
All right, fair enough. I fully disagree with the take. I'll take first off, 110 is ridiculous, but I will take the weather yesterday over 40-degree weather any day of the week. But that's preference at that point.
That's fair.
That is all preference.
I'm with E-Train on this one.
We walked down there yesterday and it was miserable.
Well, 3 blocks, I needed a new T-shirt.
Correct. By the end of it, I was out. By the end of our walks, and Casey having me walking from the park and to the stadium, back to the park, to the pitch, back to the park, to the stadium. And by the end of it, it was over. My shirt was gone. I drove home without a shirt. So it was. I had to. It was legit. I was soaking.
I caught yesterday in my adult baseball game, and my skull cap, after I catch, especially on a day like yesterday, we play on turf, I squeeze it. And it literally just it's like a Jersey Mike sandwich. The juices just are
sopping wet.
It literally drips out of my skull cap. So it's hot. Listen, I just would prefer it. I don't like going outside when it's 40, 30 degrees. I could go outside. I'll probably go out today and cut some grass, and I'll be okay. It'll be hot. It'll be sweaty, but once again, it's all preference. That's what makes life great. Is we all have our own opinions.
That's true.
Did you guys play a game last night?
We did. We won.
Did you win?
We won 9-0.
Very nice.
What was your stat line?
2 for 3 with 2 hits and a walk, and
that's pretty good.
And I caught.
That's how it's done.
Oh, you caught?
How's that back holding up after a day catching?
Hurts. It hurts.
That's not great.
I've been not sleeping on the couch either because of it's so hot. This is where it's so hot. The second floor of our house, very, 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 very warm. So we've been sleeping on the couch down on the regular floor.
That's good.
So even though I've been saying I'd take 100 degrees, I guess sleeping in my own bed isn't a good look for my opinion.
Yeah, I'll listen. If it's this hot, whatever. I'm gonna fight through it. We're gonna get through it together. That's how we do it. Is it supposed to get back down under like 75 at some point soon?
No.
Hopefully.
What's great is it's not even summer yet.
Next Wednesday is like
weather
97.
check.
Summer officially starts tomorrow.
That's
This is
brutal.
spring. This is spring.
This is spring.
This is still spring. That's my
This
favorite.
is miserable.
That's my favorite thing is when I argue people weather. Everyone says, "Well, what's your favorite season?" More often than not, people say fall, and I was like, "Oh, you like the weather on December 18th?" Because that's technically fall.
Yeah.
Like fall is September 21st to December 21st. So it's I don't know. I guess I'm being technicalities there. But you guys got kicked out of TQL Stadium.
So yeah,
Was it because of the total quality logistics?
Before I do that, Roger wants to know, did Tom's show go away? No, Tom is in Australia. So he will be back when he gets back from Australia.
Oi, oi.
Hello, Governor. Shrimp on the barbie.
Close.
Yeah, so here was the plan yesterday. Casey's like, you know what? We're going to get down there early. FC fans are abundant on match day. They're gonna be by the millions down there. They all meet at some park, and they're 100,000 strong, and we're gonna have plenty of people to interview. We get down there around 4:40. Casey brings me to some parking lot that he parked somewhere way closer than I did. But anyway, he sent me to the faraway parking lot. I found my way to Washington Park. I've never been to Washington Park in my entire life.
You've never been to Washington Park?
That seems like a
That's
near
crazy.
impossible task.
You're from Cincinnati. How's that possible?
Never been anywhere down there. No, I really haven't. I've been
great park.
I've been to the FC Stadium one time, and I just haven't been to the West End.
Have you been around Cincinnati other than the ballpark area?
I've been to Fountain Square. I've been
We were walking through down on like Vine Street, and Elliot was like, "I have no idea where I am right
Yeah,
now."
no idea.
He
So you
said
don't know
those
where
words.
Don't know where you're at on Vine. All right, go on.
But anyway, so Casey's like, you know what? We're gonna have a lot of people to interview. It's gonna be really fun. We get down there, and when I say there were 0 people there was 0 people there. It got to a point where it was 110 degrees. I was ready to throw in the towel. 5 minutes there. I'm like, Casey, I mean, just nobody gonna show up today? That's what's gonna go on. So we get to the park, and then there's a DJ. So the first obstacle is nobody's there.
Do you know the DJ's name?
No.
Okay.
The second obstacle was that the DJ was blaring music, and it was techno music.
Right.
Blaring it. Yeah. And I said to Casey, we're not going to be able to film here because that music is so preposterously loud, nobody's going to be able to say a word. And he's like, no, it's fine. We'll get through it. So we stand there for about 15 minutes. Nobody shows up. So Jacob, Casey, and myself were like, all right, let's just film the intro down at the stadium, and we'll get one part of this video done. So we all walk down, sweating our butts off, and we get to in front of TQL. We record the intro. We're like, okay, let's go to the pitch. Maybe there'll be some people in the pitch. Nobody's at the pitch. The pitch is the local watering joint for those fans of the soccer game.
Let's be very clear. Let's be very clear here. When he says nobody, there was people there. There was just people that probably weren't interview worthy, like families and stuff like that. So
Correct.
FC Cincinnati seems to be a family event.
Are
Yeah, it was
Chatterbox
definitely very
anti-family?
Man on the street videos don't pop with young children.
We are
Wow.
Wait till
anti-family.
you see this video.
Oh,
Wait till
my
you see
bad.
this video.
My bad.
But yeah, so we get to the pitch. Nobody's there. I'm like, all right, we're just staying. It's 400 degrees. Nobody is down here. We're just going to stay inside with Mike Ackley, friend of the program.
Love Mike.
He's going
Very
to give us a couple cold beverages, and we're going to stay in there for 30 minutes.
I was so confused. I was at the pitch too, and I just didn't see you guys.
Were
Yeah,
you
we-
guys lying about going to the pitch?
Oh,
Jimmy,
no.
Jimmy sees all.
We had a beer.
we
Mike
were
Ackley
there.
can attest.
Jimmy's omnipresent. Jimmy Omni.
Jimmy,
No. I was there, and Mike Ackley told me that he saw you guys and said, "Why weren't you with them?" And I was like, "Well, I texted Casey, but my text went through green."
my phone was dead.
I gave Mike Ackley a 40% tip. So how about that? No,
good guy, Elliot.
No pats
You want us to like
no pats
bang
on the back
what-
here. No pats on the back
What was
here.
that?
But, anyway,
most
so
braggadocious
Jacob,
thing I've ever heard.
so Jacob's like, all right, if you guys are just gonna sit here in the bar,
Elliot,
all
40%.
night, if you guys are just gonna sit here at the bar all night, I'm gonna go because I got dinner reservations. So Jacob left. He took our camera. We still had one camera remaining. That was Casey's camera. So and I said that's fine because legit nobody is there.
We were down bad early. I'll admit we were down bad early.
I was
there
ready to-
wasn't a lot of people there that I thought there would be a lot more, but I think because of it being on a weekday.
Well, I think it was also 100 degrees. Which
And it was
probably-
it was 110
warm.
degrees, so it was not good. So we thought they would be all inside the pitch, and they just hadn't filed in yet. It was still
Yeah.
5 o'clock. 5:15.
Again, it was also 4:50 on a work day, so I probably should have thought about that as well. I guess it wasn't. I mean, for some people it was a work day, some people it wasn't. If you had the holiday off, that's good. But anyway, so Jacob leaves. Casey and I are there for about 25 minutes. We're like, all right, let's go back to the park and let's try it. We get back to the park. The DJ has stopped. This
No
time
more
it's
DJ.
It's a live band.
Live band.
Okay.
Do you know
which
the
is
band's name?
significantly louder.
That is not great.
It was a school. It was with children.
Oh, so not like a
like a band.
There was
like a
trumpets.
marching band.
It was like a marching
There was
band.
trumpets
was-
and tubas.
Were they American?
Yes.
So it was a Great American Brass Band?
Oh.
Might have been. Anyway, so they're blaring their music, and again, I look at Casey and say, Casey, we're not going to be able to film here because they're blaring music. Casey's like, no, I'm Casey. And then so we continue on, wait at the park for about a half hour, and then we start interviewing people. And finally, we get into a little bit of a rhythm. The park never filled, like it never got crowded, but there was a decent size group of people there, and we interviewed them, and we had some fun. It was legitimately the hottest I've ever been. I got my guy Casey. I kept hydrating him. He was working the camera. I saw he was sweating. His smile was starting to fade as the hours went on last night. So I replenished his fluids with water. And we got through it, and the day got ended. Then by the time, and to answer your initial question, to wrap this whole thing full circle, to end the video, we were going to do an outro at TQL. We walk up the steps about an hour and a half before game time, we walk up the steps around 6:45, and the guy up there is like, listen, you guys can't do your little podcast up here. You guys are going to have to go back down. I'm like, okay, thank you very much, sir. And I walked on down, and I made fun of him. So that was it, and that was our whole day. But it was a special treat. I will say this. It is interesting how I feel like there's no overlap between Reds and Bengals fans and FC Cincinnati fans.
It really
They're
didn't
just
feel
their
like
own
it.
people.
Yeah.
We saw one
Casey's
guy.
an FCC fan, and he's a Bengals fan.
That's one.
Yeah, we saw one guy wearing a Reds jersey, and we attempted to interview him. Wasn't interested. I was kind of disappointed. We were going to ask him some Reds questions, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I was disappointed with the crowd early. I think it definitely got a lot more people coming in as the day went on, and we left at like 6:30, so we didn't get to do the march or anything like that, which is like a big part of their the fandom there. It was unavoidable. I mean, we were paying for parking, so.
I think
Unfortunately
what
for
the
that.
issue
And-
was it was 200 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to go sit in the park and listen to the America's Brass Band Association.
Yeah.
Was it packed inside the stadium, Jim?
Oh yeah, it was sold out for sure.
Yeah,
Don't they all?
it's always
all the
sold
games
out.
sell out?
Yeah, unlike the Reds.
Well, if the Reds played in a shoebox, it might sell out too.
But yeah, that was it. I want to hear about Jim's experience, and that's what we're going to start headlines with FC Cincinnati, because I was at trivia last night, and as Reed says, there was a TV that had FC Cincinnati on, so naturally I watched it.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I watched it. I was watching that game like at 20%, and I was just, every once in a while I just look up, and the score had changed every single time.
Yep.
So maybe FC Cincinnati's terrible defense makes for great soccer. I think that's what it was. And we'll talk about that next. We'll lead headlines off with that. ESPN 1410, thank you very much for tuning in, listening on your radio or in your car. We'll be back in just a couple seconds. Welcome back in. We are off the bench. I am Elliot Rearing, Reed Mouse, Jacob Tissett, Jimmy Collins, Casey McAllister. We are here on this glorious Thursday afternoon. Thursday morning, I guess. It feels like an afternoon. I woke up a little earlier today. But nonetheless, we're going to start our headlines with FC Cincinnati. They played the Philadelphia Union last night. The Philadelphia Union apparently stink, according to Casey. And it went down like this. It was 4-3. I believe it was FC Cincinnati to take the first lead. It was 1-0 off the foot of Kevin Kelsey. And then FC Cincinnati, I believe, gave up a goal to Ty Baribeau to answer it. So 1-1. Then it was FC Cincinnati again, Luciano Acosta with a penalty in the 49th minute. Jesus Bueno in the 55th minute to tie it up. Then Luca Orlano, is that right? Oreno. He gave the FC Cincinnati Fighting Lions a 3-2 lead. And then it was...
How did he do that?
Yeah, how did he do that?
Can you explain how he did that? 'Cause
Okay,
that's
so
pretty
that
significant.
goal actually... was that the coolest goal of the MLS season?
That was one of the coolest goals I've ever seen.
So he
Yeah,
was at
it was
midfield, for those of you who didn't watch FC Cincinnati because of the blackout restriction and they're behind 3 different paywalls. He was at midfield and noticed the goalie wasn't really in the box. He wasn't back in his home. So he kicked a ball from legitimately midfield and it went in. I'll tell you this. I'm not a soccer guy. That was pretty damn cool to see. And that gave what I thought was going to be the winning goal. So that was 3-2. Ty Baribeau tied it in the 90th minute, one of the 90th minutes. He tied it to make it 3-3, and then Luciano Acosta, he scored again in the 11th minute of the 90th minute.
Good for them.
to win 4-3. Jimmy, what were the vibes down there at TQL?
Absolutely electric. I had an awesome time. The first half, we sat in the Bailey, and then the people I was with didn't want to stand for the rest of the entire game. So we went and we moved to like another seat that was like, it was probably like the 10th row. It was nice. We had a great time. I was chanting for most of the first half, and FC was playing well. And then they had that awesome goal, Arenio. That was probably the coolest goal I've ever seen. I think Casey, would you agree?
I would agree with that. That's probably going to be one of the best goals this year in MLS. It might be one of the best goals in soccer, period, for the year. It's pretty significant. Where he placed that ball from midfield. I mean, the goalie, if it's any lower, is going to block that shot. Mm-hmm. He puts it perfectly, almost like just barely skidding past the top bar. I mean, it is one of the best goals I've seen.
It was cool. I just watched.
Cool.
I just watched it. Shout out to FC. They scored more goals yesterday than the Reds scored against the Pirates.
That they did.
That's true.
Also, Casey and I did hit our two-leg FC parlay.
Oh, really?
First goal of the game.
Yeah, the very first
goal of the game.
What was it? The first 20 minutes of the game?
Yeah.
I mean, it was fantastic. Kevin Kelsey with most ugly header I've ever seen.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, from Acosta. But it was fantastic. I mean, we would have hit a couple other legs if we would have just
added
a couple more. But, again, it was fantastic. By the way, you mentioned that the FC has a terrible defense. They are down their two most important defenders. The defender of the year, Matt Miazga, he got hurt last game, has a laceration on his knee. They're still evaluating it to make sure that it's not got any more significant damage. And then Miles Robinson is with Team USA right now. And then he might be on the Olympic team in a month from now. So
really,
he might be gone for 2 months. So
terrible though, right?
FC's defense is going to be a bit of a problem here the next month or so.
But luckily they can score.
I was going to say, you score four goals a game.
Yeah.
It's hard to lose. Hard to lose that. Second on the table right now, only trailing Messi.
I think for the rest of the summer, Casey and I are definitely going to a game.
Yeah.
I don't know about these guys. Reed, I'm sure you.
I would love to go.
I think we should all go.
It's just.
You guys
Elliot
know I
and
love to
Jacob.
watch FC. Watch them all the
course.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you
Whenever
watch
they're
them
on.
yesterday? They're
No,
on FS1.
I was playing.
Oh, yeah. That's
They
As
were
long
on-
as it's not on a Saturday or a Wednesday, I'll go.
Okay. Jacob.
You're cashing checks. I'm writing checks. I'm gonna have to cash. No thanks. I laid out my rules. Casey told me Messi's playing here, and if Messi plays here, I'll go.
Come on, dude.
July 6th, right?
Well, apparently he's in another tournament.
He's in Copa.
He's going to be in Copa. He's not going to be
unless
here.
they get eliminated from Copa.
Well, then that's
Which they
that's
probably
good for FC because then they don't have to play the best player in the world.
Who's
They're leading the table. You get to sneak a win out, get to sneak a dub. These are good things. These are good things. Bad for the fans of Cincinnati, good for the fans of Cincinnati.
Right.
World is not black and white, it's gray. Often
Lower
gray.
ticket prices, I'm sure, as soon as he gets out of that game.
I'm sure. Let's go to headlines around the other sporting world. When I say there is no sports on, there is nothing. Nada. Zilch on June 20th. But nonetheless, the Reds still play. The Reds, they lost yet again. They get shut out 1-0 in the series finale. I predicted yesterday on the show that the lineup would get 3 hits. Somehow, they didn't reach that number. They had 2 hits. Jonathan India and Santiago Espinal had 2 of the weakest base hits anybody's ever seen to be the only 2 hits of the game. Mitch Keller was dominant, 7 innings, and striking out 7. Obviously, 0 runs. Positive takeaways? Hunter Greene, 6 2/3, 2 hits, 0 runs, while striking out 9. Hunter Greene, this is a stat Jacob brought to my attention per C-Trent. Hunter Greene has made 4 starts at PNC Park. The Reds have lost all 4. In those 4, he's 0-2, 25 2/3 innings pitched, allowing 10 hits, 3 runs, only 2 earned runs, with a 0.7 ERA. He has not allowed a home run. He's walked 10 batters, has 34 strikeouts, and 2 hit-by pitches. The Reds have scored 1 run total in those 4 starts. 1 run total in those 4 starts when Hunter Greene plays at PNC Park. He has a 0.7 ERA. I don't know if that's bad luck, Jacob, or if that's just disgusting effort by the Cincinnati Reds. Horrible.
At some point, if you're Hunter Greene, it needs get annoying, right?
Oh, it's gotta be.
You're going out there, you have a no-hitter, and you lose in Pittsburgh a couple years ago, and now yesterday another gem on the mound, and you lose on a shutout game, 1-0 game. I mean, just that's infuriating.
Terrible. Nick Martinez, he gave up the lone run via solo shot by Brian Reynolds. Brian Reynolds hit the game winner in the 8th inning. The Reds are back at it tomorrow against the Boston Red Sox. It'll be Kutter Crawford versus Andrew Abbott. Abbott has a 3.42 ERA with 60 strikeouts. Kutter has a 3.54 ERA with 88 strikeouts.
Best name in the league?
Yeah, it is.
Cutter's
Kutter.
good.
Cutter Crawford. I mean, that dude sounds like he just came from
Does he throw a cutter?
a crawfish broil. Like, just he's barefoot through the swamp.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like, hey, who's throwing tonight? I'll Cutter.
Does he throw a cutter?
I don't know.
That'd be
He
cool.
has to, right?
I mean, you have to.
In other semi-Reds news, Alex Blandino has been promoted to low A. He was the Reds' first-round draft pick a while ago. Didn't work out as a position player. Tried him in the infield, tried him in the outfield, didn't work. He has now switched to pitching, where he throws knuckleballs. And he has been promoted to low A. So maybe Alex Blandino, his career is on the come-up as a knuckleball pitcher.
Hopefully that there's no national anthem in the game he's pitching in. Otherwise, he'll stand out in the dugout and not get warm.
Is that a great bid or what?
He's the best.
Nobody did it better than him. I think did he get thrown out of a game for that?
he did.
I think he got ejected for that. Around the league, Braves, they shut out the helpless Tigers 7-0. Sean Murphy had a pair of home runs. The Tigers have 3 wins in their last 13 games.
Tough sledding.
It is tough sledding.
Tough sledding.
When do they take on the White Sox?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So if they lose that, what if they get swept in that series?
If they get swept in the series, if they lose the series, I'm done.
You're done.
Yep.
Done.
Done for the year.
D-U-N.
Unless they win
Done.
like 10 in a row.
Unless they win 10 or 12, maybe.
Sure. Marlins beat the Cardinals to win that series 4-3, the score last night. Otto Lopez hit the game-winning single to walk off the Birds. Padres, they get a game against the Phillies, winning 5-2. Matt Waldron went 7 innings, allowing 5 hits and an earned run, striking out 6. The Cubs, they beat the Giants 6-5 to take that series. They did everything in their power to try to blow the game. They almost did it. A 4-run 8th inning fell 1 run short. Ian Happ and Dansby Swanson hit back-to-back jacks.
Yeah, it's when you get to June and July at Wrigley Field, the ball starts flying. The Cubs, who have not been able to hit very well, have hit double-digit hits in 3 straight games. They should have won all 3 games, and they try to blow all 3 games.
How about that? The Nationals, they take a game from the Diamondbacks, winning 3-1. It was Jesse Winker, our good friend, who had a go-ahead home run to clinch that victory. Garrett Cole, he returned to the bump for the very first time this season. He went 4 innings. He gave up 3 hits, 2 earned runs while striking out 5. It was not enough to get the win as the Orioles hang on for dear life in extra innings. They scored 2 in the top of the 10th. Yankees answer with only 1 in the bottom half. The Red Sox, they cruise past the Blue Jays 7-3. I feel like this is 15 series in a row where the team playing the Reds coming into Cincinnati have won a game or won the series.
Red Sox are hot right now.
Red Sox are hot right now. Rays 3-2 over the Twins. Astros get a game back against the terrible White Sox. They won 4-1. Hunter Brown went 6 innings, allowing 1 earned run, striking out 6. And the Dodgers, they blew a lead against the Rockies last night. They were up 3, blew it. Colorado walks it off to win 7-6 at home. Brewers, they shut out the Angels 2-0, and the Mets fall for the very first time in 8 games. The Grimace magic has ended, Jacob. Thoughts?
Really, really upsetting because I don't know
is.
what other magic the Mets are going to have left to pull out if they already used Grimace this early in the season. So it might be some tough sledding for the Mets soon.
I agree. Listen, and I bet on the Mets last night, so I was the one to kill it. Athletics, they take the series from the Royals. They won 5-1 last night. Switching over to the WNBA, the Fever have won 3 straight games, maybe the hottest team in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark scored 18 points with 12 boards.
Hello.
But
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
She added 6 more turnovers.
Oh my!
You love her turnovers.
She's almost averaging like a triple-double with turnovers.
What's her turnover count?
I'd have to look at it right now, but I'm telling you right now, it's well over 150.
They released the evaluations of all the WNBA franchises.
Yeah.
And the Indiana Fever, from a very small market and very bad team, are right in the middle of the pack, and that is 100% because of Caitlin Clark. They are worth more than the Los Angeles Sparks. They're worth more than the Dallas Wings, teams from bigger metropolitan areas, and that's literally because they got the star of the league.
She has 88 turnovers this year.
88.
So give her some credit.
88 turnovers in how many games?
Overrated.
Is that right?
Yeah, 88 total turnovers this year.
I might have to look at that. I might have to stat check you. Euros. I don't watch the Euros, but Jimmy does, so I'll read these scores anyway.
Spanish kit.
Scotland and Switzerland, they tied 1-1. Germany
That seems like a Swiss move to tie.
Oh, yeah.
It was.
They're just like, hey, we're going to tie. No wins, no losses.
Germany shut out Hungary 2-0. Germany has now scored more goals in franchise history in this stage of in the group stage than it ever has before. So good for the Germans, I guess. Nobody's ever said that before. Croatia and Albania, they tied it 2 apiece. Some guy named Klaus scored an own goal and then hit an equalizer later on. Apparently that was very exciting per Euro Twitter, which I looked up for 5 seconds before this segment. NBA, this is the final headline of the day. I saw this. The ratings are out. Not good.
Yeah.
The 2024 NBA playoffs saw a significant decline in viewership compared to the 2023 NBA Finals, ratings dropping by 11%, viewership dropping by 12% to 4.5 million. And the finals have now gone 5 years without a single game hitting the 14 million mark, a figure that even the World Series has reached more recently.
It's going to continue to be a problem until they find out who is the next era of the WNBA, who's the hero, who's the villain, like we've seen the previous, 4 decades since Magic versus Bird, since all that. They're going to need to figure out, hey, who's going to be the face of this league going forward. And it was objectively fun. It was an objective, fun playoff series. But other than the finals. But they just don't have a face of the league, so it's going to continue to take a dip until they find their next face of the league.
Who's going to be the face of the league? Wemby? Wemby has the best chance, probably.
He'll be the best player, but I think they're really pushing Ant for that role.
So Ant, Wemby.
I think they're pushing Ant because he is
American.
he's an American.
Whether you like it or not, that moves the needle.
Right. Look at the best players in the world. It's Luka, not from America.
Jokic, not from
Jokic,
America.
right? So they need to find an American. And the final thing is one of the MLB has one of their marquee games tonight.
Yes.
The Rickwood Field game, which is
Yes.
going to be in Birmingham, Alabama. So if it's going to be pretty fun. It's Cardinals versus the Giants. Cardinals versus the Giants at Rickwood Field, the oldest professional stadium in the country.
Very cool.
How far? You probably don't know. I was going to say, is the ball going to fly out of that stadium? Is this a good time to bet the over?
I don't
Because
know.
The
whenever-
over-under in that game is only 8.5, so it
Okay,
can't
so it's just
be
normal.
crazy.
Just normal.
I don't know. I mean, if it's an old field, it's probably bigger.
Okay.
It's probably bigger. Well, the marquee games, when they play in Mexico City, yeah, it's because the elevation. It's a Mickey Mouse field similar to Denver.
And when they played in the corn, that over-under was high, too.
It was a small field, but this is going to be a cool one. It's the oldest professional field, Birmingham, Alabama, and it's going to be on the heels of Willie Mays passing away. So I think there's going to be a very poignant moment for the game tonight.
I agree. And that's it for your headlines. We're going to talk, unfortunately, about the Reds coming up next. Nobody wants to do it, but unfortunately, we all have to do it. So that's it. ESPN 1410 Wing AM, the best sports coverage in the Miami Valley. We'll be right back with you. Welcome back in, off the bench, Chatterbox Sports. It's a beautiful Thursday in the greater Cincinnati area. And when I say greater Cincinnati area, I mean Hamilton, Ohio. It's beautiful outside. It is rather hot. Whenever I have to get out of my car and I have to clean the glasses off due to fog and covering up my lenses, that's when I know it's a bad day. But saying that, we're going to try to smile and have some fun. It's the spring, as Reed says. Spring is the best time of the year by far. So that's that. Reds, what a time to be alive. They lose the series finale 1-0 yesterday to the Pittsburgh Pirates. One of the probably if you have to rank worst baseball games of the year, that's probably up there.
Up there.
That game
Definitely
was
up there.
That game was miserable from the start. Everybody knew that was so easy to predict that the Reds weren't going to score a run. When you have 5 guys in the bottom half of your lineup that are unable to hit a 220, it's just a joke. Everybody knew it was going to be bad, and it was. I predicted 3 hits. They got 2. This is a game where, and maybe injuries have a large part to do with it, but it seems like when it's these series finales, and this isn't the only series finale they've kind of thrown it in. They did it. They did it against. Thank you, Jimmy. I think we're at. Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. That was just 1 L.
Just one.
It feels like there's been a couple series finales. Maybe it was the Diamondbacks or the Padres. I'm kind of forgetting. But it seemed like David Bell, and I'm not a blame the manager guy, but it seems like he threw in the towel.
Phone in the travel day.
And I don't know if it was the injuries. I don't know what it was. But the Reds are off today. And Jeimer Candelario swung a bat last night.
Right.
So if he was able to go, why not DH him, give him some at-bats, and you can move things around that way. Tyler Stevenson nowhere to be found. And I saw the stats before the game. Tyler Stevenson was like 1 for 17. He's 2 for his last 20. Swinging the bat. But saying that, I'll still take my chances with Tyler Stevenson over Luke Maile. I still will.
Yeah.
And I look at that lineup, and it was like I knew as a Reds fan, as somebody who's watched this team almost every game this season, I knew that lineup wasn't going to do anything. It was going to have to be the Hunter Greene show. And it was the Hunter Greene show. That's the worst part of everything. Hunter Greene quite literally couldn't have had a better game. Couldn't have done it. There was one bloop on his little radar yesterday, and that was Fat Rowdy Tellez hitting a ball off the top of a wall. But unfortunately for him, he just walked to first base, pimping a ball that didn't leave the yard. That was Hunter Greene's only mistake, I guess, if you want to call it, yesterday. That's how good he was. And it seemed like that lineup was not an attempt to win. That was a lineup to roll over and maybe continue to get the guys healthy. I guess that's the plan, because we don't know where Nick Martini is. And I'd argue if Nick Martini is not healthy, why is he on the roster at all? Why
Basically playing 3 guys down.
Correct. Why are we wasting our time if Nick Martini is not ready to go?
Yeah.
And I'm not a Nick Martini fan. I think he's fine. He's given the Reds probably some of the better moments of the past 2 years. But he's not available. So why is he occupying a roster spot that could go to somebody else? Righty, lefty, I don't really care. I need somebody with a pulse that can stand up and swing a bat. That's what you need. And nobody apparently was available yesterday. TJ Friedel's still hurt. Jeimer Candelario, again, he's hurt, but he swung a bat yesterday.
He came in, yeah.
So I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Jacob, but it seemed to me this was a tank lineup. This is a lineup you throw in when you give up.
It's frustrating when you don't necessarily have enough players on your team to field multiple different lineups that feel competitive. And I think that's where the Reds are right now. There's really one collection of players that feels competitive. And if you sub any of them out, or multiple in one game, it seems like you're punting the game, which is a brutal place to be, because you just simply can't play the same 9 players for 162 games. And I don't know when the right time is to quote unquote punt a game. Certainly that didn't feel like it. A divisional game where you lost to Paul Skeens, which you kind of expected, snuck the second game with a gem from Lodolo when you had Hunter Greene on the mound, so you knew you'd have a chance to win. Didn't feel like a game to me you should punt, but if these guys are really as banged up as it seems, maybe resting them, giving them pseudo 2 days off before a big homestand here to try to get back to 500. Maybe that is the right move. So we'll see what happens if these guys are in the lineup, today or not today, they're off today, but Friday and this weekend against the Red Sox and play well. Then it was the right move. And if they are still out and injured, I have a lot more questions. So I think that's kind of where I stand with it.
Yeah, yesterday I thought was just disgusting on every level. I mean, I know Mitch Keller's a good pitcher, but Will Benson has been bad this season offensively. He's been fine against right-handed pitching. Overall, not been the Will Benson that we thought he would be. Stuart Fairchild is Stuart Fairchild. He doesn't hit right-handed pitching. You know that going in. He's hitting under 100. Is that what you told me? Mm-hmm. He's hitting sub 100 against right-handed pitching. He's forced to play every day now. You have Jacob Hurtubise, who I love. I love Jacob Hurtubise. Nobody loves him more than Jimmy over there. Jacob Hurtubise hitting well below 200 now. Jeimer Candelario, again, he came in late in the game. And Luke Maile, I try with Luke Maile. I try my best. He's the backup catcher. That's what backup catchers do. So I can't complain about Luke Maile too much, other than the fact that I would have liked to have Tyler Stevenson swing a bat at some point yesterday. Santiago Espinal should never be hitting 5th, ever.
That was bad. That was tough.
Santiago Espinal's hitting 5th on the Reds. 5th. And granted, he got a hit, so what am I slandering him for?
Swinging a hot stick.
So it's just one of those things where yesterday was a disaster. You knew it was going to be a disaster. But switching over to Hunter Greene, I read the stats coming or in the headlines. Sorry, 4 games now started at PNC Park. 0.7. He's given up 2 earned runs. That's a 0.7 ERA. He's lost them all, including a no-hitter, which he lost as well at PNC Park. This is a guy who has been far and away, in my opinion, him and Nick Lodolo, I guess, I'll throw them both in there, have been the most valuable players of this team. I really do believe that. I think if you had to look at what's most important this year, they give us a fighting chance every single night when they're on the mound.
Right.
Every fifth day, Nick Lodolo and Hunter Greene they're gonna come out there and they're gonna shove. Hunter Greene's been phenomenal outside of a little blip in Chicago where I'd argue it wasn't his fault because it was pouring down rain and they said it wasn't going to do that. So outside of that, he's been absolutely electric this season. His strikeout numbers are great. He's going 6 innings. In fact, he's gone 6 innings, every single game over the last 10 except for 3. At least 6 innings. That's how good this guy's been. And to give us that consistency is what we asked for coming into this year. It's what Reds fans have complaining about for a year and a half now, including myself. I don't fall innocent to that crime because I've done it. I've yelled at Hunter Greene in my own head, saying Hunter Greene needs to go longer, or else you can switch him to the bullpen. That's out of the question now. Hunter Greene has proven this season that he's a bona fide stud in Major League Baseball. And he's been a big part of why the Reds have been good. And yesterday just shows it. I mean, again, 6 1/3, 2 hits, didn't allow a run, didn't allow a walk, 9 strikeouts. Does everything right. He's done everything right. That contract we talk about that every fan got upset about when he first signed it, the Reds were struggling, and they're like, whoa, why are you giving this guy $9 million when he hasn't proven anything? This is why. That's why you do that. Because then if they didn't do that, he'd be worth $15 million or X amount of more $1 million more than he's getting right now. So quick shout out to Hunter Greene because he's been incredible this season.
That's the gripe Reds fans had with him his whole career to start was, he's dominant with his, fastball slider and he's getting 12 strikeouts in 4 innings, but he's not going past long enough into games for it to matter. You're having to use your bullpen for half the game. And now that's out the window. I think people are grasping at straws to try to find something else to knock Hunter Greene for. I mean, I don't really know what it is now that you can possibly say that. I mean, obviously Nick Lodolo has been great. I'm not taking anything away from him, but to say that he's not an ace caliber pitcher or at least headed that way, he's been nothing short of great for this basically this entire season. And he just keeps showing it day in and day out. You mentioned the game in Chicago that obviously wasn't great, but Justin Steele on the mound that night too. He walked more batters than he has all year. So I mean it was not good conditions, and everyone's going to point to that game and say he still, doesn't go deep into games. He still allows runs, and it happened once, but he continues to prove that this is the pitcher he is now, not what he used to be. I saw some people asking, what happened to Hunter Greene to allow this to be the case? I really don't think anything happened. I think this was the trajectory he had been on. He's gotten more comfortable with his 3rd and 4th pitches. He's mixing them in. But this was always the expectation, is that he was going to be this level of pitcher. I think Reds fans as a whole just kind of threw the towel in on a young guy who hadn't thrown many professional innings way too early.
So here's the thing about Hunter Greene. And yesterday, watching him, he looked so incredibly confident throwing pitches in any sequence. He's already thrown the split finger, so everyone knew that he had the great fastball, knew he had the great slider, but he never had that 3rd pitch, and obviously you brought the split finger. He's already thrown the split finger more this season than he threw his 3rd pitch all of last year. Yeah. So he's already thrown it 130 times, and you can already see the respect that hitters are giving it because he has that 3rd pitch. Last year, hitters were batting 265 off his fastball and 230 off his slider. And now it's because it was basically those two. Can you see the circle of the ball? That means it's a slider. Can you see it straight? Now we're given a 3rd look, and you've got to prepare for the 3rd look. Now hitters are hitting 190 off his fastball and 204 off his slider. More confident than ever, had so much confidence throwing that slider at any count yesterday, and you could tell right from the get-go. He was throwing it behind in the count. He was throwing it ahead in the count. So on top of can he get the fastball in the zone, he was pretty much painting wherever. He was absolutely dominant. This is the pitcher that people thought they were getting when they drafted Hunter Greene. This is the pitcher that he has proven himself, and we said it last year when he signed the contract, said, if this looks like a bad contract at the end of it, then this Reds team will be abysmal anyway. So what's it matter? And it seemed almost impossible, $9 million a year for Hunter Greene to be a bad contract. It's already looking like one of the best deals in Major League Baseball. His contract, he is a bona fide ace. The 3rd pitch is confusing hitters into a fact that they now they have to prepare for that split finger. And it's already proving that the fastball and the slider are going to be better because of it.
I watched him last year, and I don't know if it was because he was hurt maybe for a large portion of it, but that confidence you're talking about wasn't there. The issue with Hunter Greene was he would throw so many pitches in those first couple innings. He would get out in the fourth. Everybody would be upset. They'd cry and they'd moan and they'd gripe. He's right now, I think, yes, his strikeout numbers are good, but I think it was a lot. And again, I'm not a baseball expert. I'm not a pitching expert, but it seemed like he was always trying to get the strikeout last year. I think it's slowly becoming where he's okay with some contact, put it out in the ball yard, make them hit it. That's at least what I've seen this year, and I think that's what's, again, been the biggest gripe of him over the past 2 years is just he hasn't been able to get through 5 innings, 6 innings, because he's throwing so many pitches trying to strike everybody out. The walk numbers were a little up to start this year. I think he's walked a decent amount of guys, but saying that, I do think that he's been a way better pitcher. He's been the pitcher, as Reed just said. He's the guy that was the cover of Sports Illustrated. He's been the guy that is the franchise player. He's one of our franchise players, him and Ellie De La Cruz. So, yeah, Hunter Greene has been very good this season. And to be quite honest, if we didn't have him, if we didn't have Nick Lodolo, and if we didn't have Ellie De La Cruz, this team quite literally doesn't win anything, ever, whatsoever. And honestly, I don't know what your thoughts, and this is half joking. I'm gonna make that very clear. This is half a joke. Half a joke. Hunter Greene right now, I'd like to see him swing a bat, if that's going to be the lineup they give him.
Why not?
No joke. Can it get worse, though? Can it get worse than that lineup? There's no scenario where that lineup should ever be played. I know injuries are a large portion of it. I get it all. But saying that, Hunter Greene couldn't have gone in yesterday thinking, you know what? I'm going to have a chance. I can coast through this one. Our offense is going to have my back. There was at no point during that game did a Reds batter outside of Jonathan India have a competent at bat. They were miserable at bats from the start of that game. I thought that lineup was a joke. It was disgraceful. It was pathetic. And the fact that that's a series finale, you lose. So switching back to that, we came into the last week, coming into that weekend, a couple days ago, saying we got to try to split this, right? We got to try to split with the Brewers. We got to try to split with the Pirates, play 500 baseball in our division. Again, it's not happening. So now I have to sit here and think, like, how long do I just have to sit here and pretend that everything's going to be okay this season? Because I think I'm out of it again. It's just one of those things. You have to eventually take that step. Hunter Greene has taken that step, but the Reds, when it comes to some of these divisional opponents in some of these games, they've not taken that step. They haven't. They can beat the Cubs. God bless their hearts. But between the Brewers and the Pirates, they've struggled mightily over the past couple of seasons, and I've seen very little improvement as a whole against these teams.
For what it's worth, maybe it's not worth anything, but the Reds in their last 8 series are 4-4 in the final game of the series. So it's not like a reoccurring theme where they're struggling mightily in that final game of the series. Like, they're playing 500 baseball against teams in the division, against good teams like the Dodgers, against good teams like the Guardians. So I think that it might be a step too far saying that they throw in the towel in the final game of a series.
There's been a couple games this season where that series finale, that lineup has been not great. And I've just started to notice it, and maybe I can be proven wrong, and maybe it's all because of injuries. And that's a fair point. But I've been looking at it over the past couple of weeks, and it just seems like that's the case. I could be wrong. Either way, it's been frustrating to watch the Reds in these series finales and losing. But nonetheless, as Reed said, 4-4. They're still only, 4 games under 500, 3 games under 500, whatever it is. They're alive, they're fine, and they're going to continue to fight. I just hope eventually they take that step. I want a consistent baseball team eventually, and hopefully we get there.
They're a game and a half out of the wild card.
They are a game and a half out of the wild card.
They're also the 3rd worst record in the league, National League.
Man.
It's a wild league we got going right now.
Man, you had to take a shot there after the compliment. But that's okay. That's okay. ESPN 1410 Wing AM, the best sports coverage of the Miami Valley. Thank you very much for listening. If you are bored, come over to the YouTube side. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. But if you're not bored, you like the radio, please, by all means, stay. We love the radio listeners as well. We'll be right back with you. And welcome back in to Off the Bench Chatterbox Sports. Listen, I know it's hot outside. Stay inside. Hang out with us until you can procrastinate all your work till the end of the day. That's what today's about. So go procrastinate it. It's a beautiful Thursday to stay inside, watch some Netflix, and watch some us. And listen to us if you're on the radio as well. We're going to switch away from the Reds for a little bit. we're going to switch away from the Reds a little bit. Casey sent me this yesterday. And basically there's talks roughly about the NFL having 2 salary caps now. You're going to have 1 salary cap for your quarterbacks and 1 salary cap for the rest of the roster. And that's because of the ever-growing landscape that is quarterback money in the National Football League. We've seen it for a while now. Every quarterback that gets paid, it's just the next new highest-paid quarterback. It all started with Deshaun Watson. He ruins everything. All that guy does is ruin the world. But saying that is the current. I think if this will never happen. I don't think. I'll ask you guys here in a second. I don't see a world where that happens. But if it did, I do think it would be the right move. Because it does seem a little crazy to me that a quarterback's going to make up 50% of your payroll almost. 40% of your payroll.
25.
It's 25%.
25% of your payroll.
25%, yep.
So that seems like lunacy to me. It makes sense. It's the most important position on the field. But every single quarterback that gets paid is the new highest paid quarterback. There has to be some sort of change to this eventually.
So there was a conversation last summer or 2 summers ago when the running back dilemma with all the contracts happened about changing the rules for their rookie contract so that they could get an extension after 2 years instead of 4,
right,
so they could capitalize on that second contract. And the NFLPA basically straight up said they'll never vote to differentiate one position from the rest because it's not fair to the rest of the league. I think this would be doing the exact same thing. You'd be ensuring the quarterbacks get a certain chunk of money while everyone else is fighting for, I assume, a smaller amount. I mean, the salary cap would certainly not stay in the 250 range. If you have a quarterback salary cap separate, it would go down. So I think it would affect everyone else's contracts as well in a negative way. So, I really don't think this would ever happen strictly from a PA standpoint, even if it does make sense ownership-wise.
Well, so here's the thing. I don't think it makes sense ownership-wise either. These talks are very, very low levels. They're just talking about it. And what they want to do is they want to mold it kind of after what the NBA has with the max and supermax,
right,
to where you can only spend this much money on a quarterback, and it's kind of a separate thing from the rest of your salary. And the reason is because I think anybody, and I know it's a buzzword when you talk about financials, especially in the current economy that we have, is there's a bubble. And there really is a bubble. It's like, when does this burst about we're just giving quarterbacks, every single quarterback, hey, here's $55 million, hey, here's $50 million, and it will go down. Here's the reason why it will never happen. At least I don't foresee it happening in the NFL. And I don't think it's because it's necessarily hurting the players per se. It's because simply the owners have to agree to do this. And if you are Mike Brown, if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you already have your guy locked up to a long-term deal. It's not advantageous for you, the guy who's already got their quarterback under a giant contract, to say, yeah, let's cap the quarterbacks. It doesn't help you. You've already got them locked up. You want other teams to fall under the similar mold that you have created. You want other teams. You want the Jacksonville Jaguars to pay Trevor Lawrence you want Dak Prescott to get $60 million for the Dallas Cowboys. You want these players to continue to get paid so that your contract looks better because you signed it earlier. And that's a main thing. I don't think this will ever get any traction, though it might. I think it honestly would be okay for the sport to say, hey, yeah, quarterbacks are kind of this own separate entity. Maybe they should work under their own cap. Maybe we should put it separate from the rest of the roster. And I don't know how it all folds out. I was reading up on it, and it seemed to be similar to the max and supermax deal of the NBA, which they put in place so that a team can't create super teams as easily. It would be an okay thing. I just don't see it ever happening because of half the league already has their quarterback signed to a long-term deal. So in a league where you're going to need 30 out of 32 teams to say, yeah, this seems like a good idea, why would the Bengals do it? Why would the Kansas City Chiefs do it? Why would the Los Angeles Chargers do it when they already have their guy locked up? It's not advantageous to them. It's advantageous for the teams like the Green Bay Packers who don't have Jordan Love yet. It's advantageous for the Chicago Bears who haven't signed Caleb Williams to a long-term deal yet. It's advantageous to the teams that don't have this major contract already under books. The best thing that can happen for the Cincinnati Bengals and these teams is that the teams that are getting these quarterbacks on a deal later on are going to go even further into the money. It's the same thing we talk about. we anticipate that if Joe Burrow is healthy and plays under this current contract, that in 3-4 years, it looks like one of the best contracts in the league. Similar to when Patrick Mahomes paid $50 million or whatever it is. We're like, whoa, that's a crazy contract. Now it looks pretty good.
Also, he's the one that ruined quarterbacks, not Deshaun.
Correct. Deshaun ruined contracts.
Every contract
for
Mahomes
guaranteed money.
Screwed quarterbacks.
Right.
I see. It just seems. I feel like. Do you think the NFL would ever just take away the salary cap altogether? No chance of that.
That if their union gets strong enough, then yes. But I don't
think
foresee
it
that
ever
happening.
could. You would lose the main pull of the NFL, which is the ability to rebuild quickly no matter wherever you are, or at least the illusion that you can rebuild quickly no matter wherever you are.
The reason,
if there was no salary cap in the NFL, the Bengals would still be bad.
If there was no salary cap in the NFL, then the Dallas Cowboys would dominate. It'd be those similar
Giants.
things. I don't think it'll ever pull to that point because the charm of the NFL is, just like Jacob said, is that you can rebuild quickly. There's a pretty level playing field. Even when the Bengals were the number one pick, they were pretty confident in 10 of those 16 games, 10 of those 17 games. That's the charm of the NFL. That's why it'll never. And I think that the owners, even though Jerry Jones and the Giants owner, they know that, hey, it'd probably be better for us personally if there was no salary cap. They know it's probably better for the league overall that this continues to happen.
Well, it would be better for them personally in winning sense, but it would probably be worse for them in the sense that they'd have to spend so much more money. Now they can point at the salary cap and say, well, I can only extend this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was no salary cap, Cowboys fans would be expecting CD, Micah, Dak to be extended already, and every top free agent to have a star on their helmet next season.
I think it's like people will complain, and I guess some people will complain about how Major League Baseball does it, and they should. It's objectively less fun for teams like the Reds, for teams like the Kansas City Royals, and going down the list, for the small market teams to have to deal with that. But I will say this: if the NFL did that, I feel like it would still make it the NFL as a product would still be elite. We would have. I can't even imagine the numbers you'd see with some of these deals. It would be record breaking on every single thing. Because you talk about MLB contracts and they're already absurd. I don't know how much Anthony Rendon's making, but it's an absurd number. NBA max, the max contracts. You have just Mike Conley getting $400 million, X amount.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson signed a rotational 3-and-D deal.
Could you imagine like a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes without a salary cap? Could you imagine Joe
Burrow
without a
is
salary
worth
cap?
more to Cincinnati than $250 million.
Yeah,
and Cincinnati's not a big market.
Yeah.
It's not a big market. Can you imagine if there's a generational like Tom Brady in Boston, which is a bigger market? It's not one of the biggest, and it's top 7 or so in the United States. He'd be worth $1 billion to that city. If Patrick Mahomes played in New York, Dallas, L.A., maybe not L.A., he'd be worth $1 billion in those towns. The contracts would be absolutely insane.
Yeah, it would be crazy. This is per Tom Pelissero, is that right? Is that how I say that?
Pelissero, I believe.
He did say, and again, I think this was already mentioned, but I'm going to reiterate it. This hasn't gained any traction to his knowledge, in large part because so many teams have already paid their quarterbacks. Yeah. So that's obviously
that's the point that I was making. There's no for Mike Brown to agree to this would make absolutely no sense. Because what Mike Brown wants is as many big quarterback contracts
to go above
on the market, to go above what Joe Burrow makes.
Yeah.
Now, if we were before Joe Burrow signed that contract, yes,
Run.
you should be trying to do this so that you can help your own market. But yes, because so many teams, half the league already has their quarterback locked up long term to big deals. It doesn't make sense for those teams to want the lower markets who are waiting for their rookie contracts to go through or waiting for whatever their next evolution of quarterback is. It'd be advantageous for them, not for the guys that already have a contract under wraps, which is why this will never work.
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends on what that cap is, though, right? I mean, if it's Joe Burrow's 55, then yeah, it's a terrible deal. But if, let's say, the quarterback cap was like $85 million, then there's still room for that to grow, right? And then it flips back onto the other teams that it's actually a bad deal for them because they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback to spend that money on. So that money that would be on their salary cap that they could spend to build a roster around them, like the 49ers, now they can't do that. Mm-hmm. So it can go both ways. I don't think it makes sense for really either side. Yeah. If your team has a quarterback, it doesn't make sense. If your team doesn't have a quarterback, it doesn't make sense. why don't you just add more money to the salary cap?
I would
That's
guess
really
if
all it boils
the
down
QB
to.
salary cap came out next year at $85 million, Joe Burrow would be getting pretty close to $85 million. Like if they separated this stuff, he would restructure his contract right away, or he would sit out or something.
You have to fill out the rest of the quarterback roster, though, right? Or the depth chart.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. If they separated it and raised that $30 million ahead, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, they would all restructure their contracts to still be at the top of that market.
That's fair.
And we talked about it yesterday, but just to see how absurd these contracts are in other leagues. Pascal Siakam, 4 years, $189 million. And Pascal Siakam's a good player.
He's just on a fringe all-star forward, good playoff performer.
Well, he's not a top 25 player, probably. Maybe top 20.
We could do a top 25 discussion, and he'd be close.
He'd be close. He wouldn't be there, but he'd be close.
How many players are under an NBA? How many players? They got 12, right?
I think 12.
Yeah.
12 on the roster, and then minor leaguers who
10 and two ways.
Right. So it's an NFL team has to pay 80 guys, including practice squad.
Yeah.
80 guys. MLB has to pay 125 guys. What's the NBA? How many G leagues are there and stuff like that?
Not even every team has their G League.
Okay, so they're paying maybe 20 guys.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 guys. So that's part of the reason that they can do $200 million
Yeah.
contracts for everyone. And on top of it, they've structured it just because the way culture is and everything like that, to where they can make shoe deals and stuff like Steph Curry. You know, he makes his $60 million or whatever he makes per year, and then he gets double that in terms of
Right.
endorsements and whatnot.
Do you think we'll get to $300 million in 2 years?
Salary cap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How close will we get to
We're at
300?
what, 250?
We're at close,
250.
right around 250.
You're 250
It's
right
going
now.
up at like 15% per year. Yeah, there would have to be a major hit in the NFL economy to do that, and especially if they go up to 18 games, they'll be getting paid even more. So
Right.
So $300 million probably in
Yeah.
3 years,
I
4
am-
years.
Increases about $30 million.
Oh, then it'll definitely get
Yeah.
it.
I am.
So, yeah, I think it'll be like 285 next year.
I am interested to hear. I would like to hear what the players think about the adding a game to the schedule kind of thing, because in theory, yeah, you're working more. Yeah, you're putting your body at harm more, but you get paid. You get that extra paycheck. Like, if you're not going to get paid the same amount of money for more work.
And you get an extra bye week, which I feel
Right.
like never gets brought up when players are talking about it. They always say that they don't want to play 18 games, but with 2 bye weeks, you're playing shorter stretches with back-to-back games.
We talked about when we were at the Memorial, and forgive me, I forget his name. The Colts NFL PA player rep. He was very much against it. He very
Ryan
much
Kelly.
right. Thank you. He very much came out and said that. Yeah, this sounds good on paper. It sounds great for the fans. It sounds great for the owners. It sounds great for everybody. It just doesn't sound great for us when your body goes through that much wear and tear, especially if you're in the trenches and you're not a skill position. I imagine playing another game is detrimental to the body significantly. A guy like Jason Kelsey has played a long career. I don't know if that position is able to hold 18, 19, 20 games a year. And that's certainly, it looks like that's where they're going. So it'll be
I do
interesting
think
to see.
18 is somewhat of a cap.
I was
don't
gonna
think it's
say,
gonna-
because we do
it
the
lines
snowball
up the Super
argument.
Bowl with President's Day, so it gives you a federal holiday right after on the Monday, so it's a 3-day weekend. I think that's kind of what they've been aiming for.
But
Well, no. Let's get it very straight. The 17-game season was a concession for wanting 18 games.
Right.
The NFL owners, the NFL itself, always wanted 18 games. The players were like, "Well, you keep asking. Sure, we'll do 17 now." It seemed like, and I always argue against, well, where does it stop, right? I hate snowball arguments, but I think it's actually a pretty fair argument when it comes to the NFL, because I think it stops right then and there. I think 18's it. I don't ever foresee a 20-game season for the NFL.
Unless the only way is you cut out preseason completely and then you start it earlier on. So that's the only way I could see it. And even then, there's no way I see a 20-game NFL schedule. Doesn't make sense to me.
The PA they don't have a ton of power. They don't have as much power as the NBA PA, but they have enough power. It'll never get to that long.
No, I don't think so. But that's it for segment 4, Off the Bench, Chatterbox Sports. We're going to take a short break. YouTube watchers, we're not going anywhere, but for those on the radio, we are taking a break. Thank you very much for listening on ESPN 1410 Wing AM.
Oh, yeah. It's that segment where I do the ads. Just to really quickly play devil's advocate on that conversation of 18 games.
You're advocating for the devil?
I'm advocating for the owners.
Mouse
so I
Scott's
guess they're
not
the
gonna like
devils
that.
here. The playoffs are, if you're playing in the playoffs and you're already playing that extra game anyways, like, and then if you keep moving forward, I know it's a little different because not every team gets to do that. Not every team is going to move forward in the playoffs, but you're already like committing to those extra weeks anyways. So the rest of the league getting like that extra week, I don't know. It just doesn't it doesn't really faze me in terms of like you're already getting extra bye week. Those teams that are good are going to be playing an extra game anyways. I don't know. Maybe
Sneak peek at Casey's Minute coming up right after these ad reads.
That's right.
Encore Technologies. They provide IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services for mobile computing, desktop data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
Productivity.
that's right, Jimbo. Productivity. The path to innovation begins here. Visit encore.tech. And then let me tell you about this lovely bottle of water right here. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing other brands use. The result being a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNIwater.com. If you haven't done so already, please give us a like. Share it with your friends. I know that this point of the year it's a little tired because the Reds are meddling right now and there's not a lot of sports going on, but we would appreciate it. We're going to try to entertain you the best that we can. I think later on in the show we're going to be doing a buy or sell with the Reds, and I think we're going to also be doing a snake draft of our favorite or just the best Cincinnati athletes of all time, right?
That's right.
Up to you.
Later on, the members are going to be doing a Quiplash today. So those that have been waiting and clamoring for some Quiplash, we're going to be playing that later today. And we will have that FC video out hopefully Friday. It might be Saturday. Who knows? Just depends on how quick I can edit this thing.
We also got Reed. So Reed again had a competition against The Office. Could he strike us all out? That video is live now for everybody, not just the members.
That's
right. So go check that out as well. I know a bunch of people have been watching it lately, so thank you very much. And we'll see if Elliot can get a hit, or if Jacob or Jimmy can get a hit off this young man right here. So go check that out on our YouTube channel, Chatterbox Sports, as everybody knows because you're here. But that's it. Casey, did you do a Casey's Minute?
No,
not really. But I mean,
You were excited about the FC game last night.
I was excited. I mean, I was very excited. Won some money off of it. Me and Jimbo, 1 for 1 in terms of parlays. Me and Elliot were
Yeah, we are.
0 and
Well, I don't win
3
bets.
million. So I mean,
Clearly not.
We don't ever hit a parlay.
hit a first leg
ever.
last night.
You did hit a first leg of a parlay last night.
So I've now found it to be hilarious. I don't know if anybody saw this tweet. If you're not on Twitter, I'll tell it to you. Basically, there was a guy who in October of this past year said, you know what? I'm going to bet on my favorite tight end, Cole Kmet, to catch an anytime touchdown score. And then I'm going to parlay that with a bet I won't see cash for another 8 months. The Celtics to win a championship. So he parlayed a random Cole Kmet touchdown with the Celtics to win a championship. So now I'm obsessed with making just a random bet on a regular night and then parlaying it with a future in a year. That's my new bit. It's my favorite thing.
So good.
I'm losing so much money just for the joke. I'm literally making these bets for the joke. So last night I bet the Orioles when they were winning 5-1. They were minus 700. They, by the way,
I didn't realize it
took
was
them
live.
Oh yeah, it was live. Took them to extras. The Yankees did. Almost blew it. Almost blew my first leg, but they didn't. So the second leg's alive, and that's Kansas to win the basketball championship. How about that?
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good bet.
I'm
Good luck.
sure in 8 months I'll be checking it out.
Every
Certainly to win a lot, right?
Oh, $5 to win 60.
every start of the season, I do a quarter on my favorite teams to win all their championships.
Very nice.
And just recycle it. So it's like when the baseball season's done and the Cubs lose the World Series, I'll start a new one. It's Bengals, Xavier, and
Stars,
and then the Cubs to win it all. And
And
it's normally
Spain.
a quarter to win $250,000.
Yeah.
And
Someday.
someday I'll have the greatest year of my life.
Someday
I'll have the greatest year of my
It'd be
life.
very funny if you hit every leg of that parlay except for the Stars.
That would be
Bengals
tough.
win, Cubs win.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Respectfully, there's
You
one.
never
That
watch.
cash-
You never
that
watch a
cash out would
Stars
be
game again.
immense, though.
You'd never watch a
Oh,
Stars
you'd
game.
Well,
You'd be
it
a Stars
depends.
hater.
I think if I walked into a bar and the Stars game
Yeah,
was on,
yeah,
then
that
I'd
makes
watch the Stars.
that makes much more sense.
Right. Absolutely.
Casey's minute has been hijacked.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Casey's minute. Back to Casey's minute. Casey, final thoughts on your minute.
No, we're good. We can wrap it up.
No.
No.
No, we've already wasted the minute. Let's go back to program.
All right.
Casey, Stephen Kwan is batting .397. Will he hit 400?
No, he will not.
Okay.
Hot take.
Hot take. All right, we're going back to silence for 5 seconds, then going back to the radio.
Can't wait.
Welcome back in Chatterbox Sports Off the Bench. I am Elliot. That is Jacob, Reed, Jimmy, and Casey. We are here again. I found that this time, and you really don't notice it, I feel, unless you do a sports talk show every day, how truly little sporting events are going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm begging for a sporting event. That FC Cincinnati game was legitimately like the only thing that good thing that happened sporting wise all of yesterday. I'm sure there were other MLS games, and I know the Euros are on too. If I could talk about soccer, trust me, I would talk about soccer. It's not like I don't want to talk about soccer. I
don't think you want to talk about soccer.
I literally can't do it. I can't name the players. And when I was asked, by the way, I was asking people last night, FC Cincinnati fans, who Landon Donovan was. One of my questions has to do with Landon Donovan. There was a shocking amount of people who didn't know who Landon Donovan was.
Probably his new haircut.
Correct.
That's probably
If I
a little
showed
hard.
you, before we talked about it yesterday, if I showed you a picture of Landon Donovan, I don't think you would have.
I could have gotten Landon.
You would have? All right.
I could have gotten Landon Donovan.
Landon Donovan, the Dempsey fella, and Tim Howard.
Clint.
Those are the three USA and American Messi.
What about Pulisic?
I remember Josie
Pulisic.
Altidore. Josie Altidore. I don't know who he played for, but I really liked him.
Played for USA.
Yeah.
Who is the coach's son? The coach of that the World Cup team. They lost to, I think, Germany or come on, guys. He was the coach's son. He played Michael Bradley. Yes, that's it. Michael Ackley. I remember him too. He was bald, and the coach. He was the son of the coach. He was, I think, also bald.
Did you give up on soccer because that elder coach didn't give you a shot?
Correct.
Is that when you gave up on it?
Yeah. Shout out Coach Henry. I hope. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that on air. No, Coach
You
Henry.
hold a grudge better than anyone I know.
I hold grudges. It's honestly a problem. I hold grudges to a fault. There are people, pretty much in every walk of life. If you wrong me just for a little bit, I will remember it till the day I die. And the only way to get out of it is to be nice to me. That's your only option. Be nice to me one time, and I'll take away the grudge. I had a grudge against Caleb 513, and I didn't even know him. But now the grudge is gone
Why was there a grudge?
because I don't like ball hawks. But now I like. But now I respect.
So he did nothing wrong
Nothing.
to you.
Nothing.
You just disliked him.
Yeah, he did nothing. And that's just how it is, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
But now I've talked to him, and I like him now. So that's how it goes. We talked about this yesterday. If you're nice to me, I'm going to love you. That's how it is.
So you say that there's nothing going on in sports. Will you watch the Rickwood game tonight? Do you like the off-site baseball games?
I'll probably watch it tonight because there's nothing else on.
Travelers.
Huh?
The Travelers Championship is on.
I won't watch that.
Golf doesn't start till Saturday.
Yeah, listen.
How much that?
And not only does it, I don't even watch it on Saturdays. I watch it on Sundays, and that's if I have a bet on it. Not including majors. I watch all majors. But saying that, yes, I will watch tonight. I usually watch all the off-site games as long as they're not at 4 a.m. like they were in Korea. But I watched a little bit of the Mexico games, and I watched a little bit of I watched the two Field of Dream games they had. I watched both. I know one has the Reds in it, but I watched.
I think there's been like 4 Field of Dream games.
No, there hasn't. Has there?
I think
It's been
I feel
going
like
on.
two or three.
I thought three.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What was it was Yankees, White Sox, Reds, Cubs.
and
There was
thought
one
there was a
last.
third.
Was the Reds Cubs last year? The Reds Cubs.
Maybe
was 2
it's
They,
years
only
they
ago.
didn't
two.
do it. They didn't do a game last year.
Oh, they
Might
didn't do a
be-
game.
Yeah, they didn't do one.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
so
they've only
maybe
been two.
All right, you're right.
I think
there
there-
might be only two. You might
I think
be
there was
right,
only
yeah.
two, and I loved that. No joke, that Yankees White Sox Field of
Was
Dreams
fun.
game was one of the best things Major League Baseball has ever done ever. So I hope that comes back at some point. I think the point they haven't done it the past 2 years because they're redoing that field.
There's one in 2025, August 2025. There's one scheduled.
Okay, because
No teams.
I know they were majorly overhauling that field so people could show up to the game. But Nonetheless,
Less
that
than
was-
8,000
The
fans.
first one was crazy because I remember
First one was incredible.
Sean had no clue who Tim Anderson was, and I was
Really?
giving him crap for that. And I was like, this dude's been an all-star he's led the league in hits 2 straight years before this happened.
Stinks now.
He's not very good, right? It's funny how
Crazy.
it's funny how the guys that bat 350 with no slug
ooh.
tend to not pan out very long.
Who's worse right now, Jose Abreu or Tim Anderson? Which former White Sox is the worst?
Tim Anderson's still on an MLB roster, so I'll take
Tim
Jose
Anderson's
Abreu.
wilder because he's younger. Like Jose Abreu came into the league at like 27.
Yeah.
Because he was Cuban, but he came over and immediately was really good.
That's fair.
So I'm wondering where they're going to go next with the MLB offsite games. They've done one at Fort Bragg, I believe. They've obviously done them overseas. They're doing one at Rickwood Field.
They
of
should do one
Dreams.
on the boat that they played the basketball
No, that's what
game
I was
on.
gonna say.
Oh, really?
Yes. they
Hit the
should do
balls
it.
into the ocean.
Yes.
They go over the fence.
That
No
would be
fans.
sick.
That would be awesome.
Oh my
many people
God.
do you think they could get in like kayaks? If they
Oh,
did
it's just the McCovey Cove guy and
Yeah.
all his friends out there.
Oh my God.
That would be awesome.
Do you know how
The MLB
incredible that would be?
The MLB should buy land somewhere where there's just abundant land and build classic stadiums.
That'd be very cool.
Just like build
Oh.
the Polo Grounds, build Crosley, build Abbott's Field, like all these
if you played on the
Which,
boat,
by the way,
Could you imagine-
What about will we ever tear down classic stadiums again? Like the Cubs might move out of Wrigley Field. I don't foresee it happening. They might move out of there, but it will always be there.
Oh, yeah.
It will never they tore down Abbott's Field. They tore down Crosley. They tore down the Polo Grounds.
Fenway Park's there forever too. I mean, the Green Monster is a staple in the baseball community, as is the Ivy, and that's a thing.
I don't think those teams are going to move at this point.
I agree.
Red
It's-
Sox,
Well, they've already
Cubs.
they put like $1 billion.
Right. That's part of it.
Wrigley Field had on-field bullpens and did not have jumbotrons till like 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
nostalgia still plays. If they built the Polo Grounds, that thing would sell out. No doubt about it. It would be a horrible viewing experience.
The worst.
I don't think
Unless you're right on the line and you get the 400-foot home,
That's-
350-foot home runs.
you would have to sit in the
Talking about the Polo Grounds?
Oh yeah. Could you imagine the ones
Speaking of the Polo
485
Grounds,
and then
Willie
the,
Mays. Willie Mays. That's
Yeah,
where he made the catch.
that's the
was
catch.
was at the Polo Grounds.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Where, do we know that was in New York, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that was where the Giants played.
Okay, that was where the Giants played. All right. So sticking with baseball, I should say. By the way, Prasco Park, Mouse Cop says is better than Wrigley Field. Thoughts?
Fair enough.
Just a fair. Reed's not even fighting it today.
Got nothing for you.
Listen, we're gonna do some buy or sell Reds edition midway point through this season. So we're gonna go over that right now, and I'm gonna start with this one, Jimbo. Buy or sell. The Reds will be 500 at the halfway point, and that is 7 games away. They are currently
4
35
games.
and 39.
So
So they have 7 games.
So they will need to. Well, the halfway point is an odd number of games.
Correct. So
So they would need to go 6-1 over their next 7 games to get over 500.
correct.
So sell.
Yeah, I'll sell it too when you say the numbers out loud. But I think we could be. I think we could be close to 500 by the All-Star break.
I'm going to say this right now. If we don't win a series here against the Red Sox or Pirates, I don't know what we're doing.
Are we doing it by game 81 or by the
All-Star.
All-Star break?
I did by game 81.
Well,
But if
game
we want to
81
do
is
this,
not-
Okay,
halfway
game
point.
81,
Game 81
is 6.
sell.
They'd have to go 6-1 sell.
all right.
And to be honest, All-Star game sell.
I won't sell the All-Star game.
Sell,
yet, but
sell.
I'm also not buying it.
I'm selling both.
Selling both. That's fair.
Jimmy sells.
Jimmy sells. Next up, buy or sell. Hunter Greene and Nick Lodolo were the most valuable pieces to the Reds in the first half of the season.
I'm gonna sell it.
Really?
I'm gonna sell it because they've been very good, obviously. But I still think it's Ellie.
I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to buy a lot of it. If you don't have Nick Lodolo or Hunter Greene this season, I mean, I know you have Ellie, and he's been great. Don't get me wrong. He's been a superstar. But the whole issue last year was our starting pitching was so bad, it kept us out of games despite how horrible how good the offense played. The offense would hit, 6 runs a game. Starting pitching would get out in the 3rd inning. It would be a bullpen day the rest of the day. Shout out to our guy Ian Jabot. I'm buying this. If we don't have Hunter Greene or Nick Lodolo, truly I don't know what we have. Listen, love Ellie. Very inconsistent at the plate. Very inconsistent. And I don't know if Ellie could carry this team to the postseason.
This is the easiest sell of all time because if you don't have Hunter Greene or Nick Lodolo, and they've been absolutely fantastic, I'll put Hunter Greene as one of them. If you don't have Hunter Greene, Nick Lodolo, you still have a pretty solid pitching staff.
Right.
If you don't have Ellie De La Cruz, Santiago Espinal is your everyday shortstop. This team has quite literally nobody up the middle. If Ellie De La Cruz is hurt, this team is 10 games under 500 because Santiago Espinal is your everyday shortstop.
Yeah, that's fair. I just think looking back on it, I mean, if we don't have those two guys, we can sit here and say Graham Ashcraft's going to take their place. And I assume I don't know who else would be the other guy. Who would be the other guy that they would call up?
If I put you on against the wall and I said Graham Ashcraft replaces Hunter Greene for the rest of the year, or Santiago Espinal replaces Ellie De La Cruz for the rest of the year.
Not even thinking twice.
You're not thinking twice.
It's a no-brainer.
Sure, but I think the power of both of them holds weight there. Nonetheless, buy or sell. Noelvi Marte will be the second half MVP, excluding Ellie De La Cruz.
The guy that – okay, go on. Sorry.
I'll sell it because I think the pitchers will be –
The pitchers.
If you're excluding Ellie, I would give it to the pitchers.
Correct.
You see what I mean? So, yeah, but I mean, I think Noelvi's going to be great. I think he's going to be a great player. I think he's going to make a massive, massive difference to this team. The jump from Jamer to him at third base daily is going to be insane.
I think Noelvi Marte is going to be the second best offensive player in the second half of the season. I think he's going to be that impactful. And it's because, frankly, he needs to be.
I would agree with that. The rest of the offense is terrible.
There's a concession in this question to say no Ellie makes it the insinuation that he was your MVP for the first half of the season, which you just sold against. I'm selling.
Well, I said that for everybody else because I knew what your answers would be.
Okay, so no, I still will take it. No, I'll do no because I think Hunter Greene will take that then.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. All right. Buy or sell. Reds pitching, the starting pitching, that is, they're going to continue to stay hot in the second half. This is going to be how Hunter Greene and Nick Lodolo and Andrew Abbott pitch the entire season long.
I'll buy it because it's a lot more fun to buy it than sell it. So, yeah, I'm going to hope that – I think we've seen enough out of Hunter Greene to expect this now more often than not. And I think Lodolo, whenever he's been healthy since he got drafted, has been dominant. So if he's still out there, I think this is what we're going to get from him. Abbott, a little less confident just because we saw him hit that innings wall last year and fall off the face of the earth. But maybe. We'll see. At least have a couple of months before that becomes into question.
Hunter Greene, and again, this is where Reed was. I think we had a couple segments earlier on a month ago or so. It's that regression that everybody talks about. At some point, water always finds its level. I do believe the Reds starting pitching staff, and when I say that, Andrew Abbott, that's a big three, the new big three, Andrew Abbott, Nick Lodolo, Hunter Greene. I believe this is the level. I think this is what I'm going to expect them to be going forward. Saying that, I have a hard time believing if the offense is going to continue to struggle that our starting pitching. I know they don't necessarily correlate. I'm gonna say that no. I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna say the Reds starting pitching falls off a little bit in the second half of the season.
I'll buy Hunter Greene. I think Hunter Greene is exactly the pitcher that you've seen. I'm gonna sell Nick Lodolo. I think Nick Lodolo will have a stretch of starts where he will struggle mightily. I think Hunter Greene's stuff is just so phenomenal that even when he doesn't have absolute command, he can still get by and scrape by. The rest of the pitching staff, I think, is exactly what they are. I think Andrew Abbott, Frankie Montas. Andrew Abbott, I think, is going to regress in some instances, but I think Frankie Montas and the rest of the rotation is exactly what you got. I just think I think you're seeing Hunter Greene blossom into one of the best young pitchers in the league. I think you're going to see a step back with Nick Lodolo, and the rest is what it is.
That's fair. Buy or sell. The Reds lineup has reached rock bottom already. It can't get worse than what we saw in the first half. Will the second half be somehow worse than the first half?
It can't be.
It can be.
It can't be.
It can be.
It can be.
If that tall, lanky shortstop somehow can't play baseball for a short period of time, that would be significantly worse.
That's very true.
I think
it's one-man show.
I think you can survive a lineup without T.J. Friedel, although it's not ideal. I think you can survive a lineup without Jamer Candelario. I think you can survive a lineup without Tyler Stevenson in it. I don't think you can survive a lineup with Ellie De La Cruz. Luckily, he has been hurt. So I'm not going to project. I'm not going to project a rock bottom, but there is a rock bottom out there.
That's definitely
and
fair.
I'm insinuating what it is.
I think listen, it's hard to get worse. But an injury, and I know it's hard to factor in injuries when you do these segments, but if we don't have Jamier Candelario, and if we don't have TJ Friedl, and by the grace of God, if somehow hopefully Ellie stays healthy, but if he's not healthy at any point, not only is this a bad lineup, it's nowhere close to being a playoff lineup. It's an absolutely terrible. What we saw yesterday is what happens when none of our guys are healthy. That's a borderline double-A team.
Yeah.
So that's brutal.
I am looking at the lineup and just their numbers right now. I think across the board, you are pretty much seeing exactly what the hitters are. Like, I think what Spencer Steer's hitting right now, I think that's Spencer Steer. What Tyler Stevenson is hitting right now, I think that's Tyler Stevenson. I think there's much more improvement with Ellie. I think what you're seeing with Candelario is what you're seeing. Same with Jonathan India. I think this lineup is hitting pretty much exactly what you'd expect with the injuries. So I do think that there is an area, there is an ether where they are worse.
It's
That's fair.
It's also a lineup that has gotten a lot more reliable with TJ Friedl in it, and if he's out for even a significant amount of time, I feel like that's proven to be a huge issue in terms of like an offense that like gets going. Like, he is a spark to this offense, and if he's out too.
And
Jake Fraley, by the way, is going to have worse stats sooner rather than later.
I agree. And by the way, we have a TJ Friedl by herself coming up, but we got to go to break. We are late for a break. ESPN 1410 Wing AM. We'll be right back with you. And welcome on in the final segment of the day for our radio friends on ESPN 1410. Hope you're having a very pleasant Thursday afternoon, wherever you're listening. If you're in your car, if you're driving to work, if you're driving home from work, if you're driving to a swimming pool because it's 500 degrees, thank you very much for listening to us. If you're listening on one of the apps, thank you very much for listening to us. Continuing on with our Reds Buy or Sell Midway Point edition, we have a guy that Jimmy was talking about right before the break, and it's TJ Friedl. So TJ Friedl is the second most important player in this Reds lineup. We've seen what it looks like without him, and without him, it looks like Stuart Fairchild's an everyday player. Stuart Fairchild cannot be an everyday player. It's clear TJ Friedl gave us something, that spark that we needed when he was here, or while he's been here, I should say, this season. And yeah, I do, as of right now, I firmly agree with that. I think, what was he, a 4-WAR player last year? Something like that. If you don't have him, the lineup's significantly worse. There's a couple of those players where if I lose them, I'm a little bit okay with it. And again, Jamier Candelario has been great, but I do think I can find a replacement for Jamier. There is no replacement for TJ Friedl at the current moment. There is none. So TJ Friedl, as of right now, I'm buying that he is the second most important player in the Reds lineup.
I'll buy the sentiment, but I think if you're talking about the entire Reds roster, I think Matt McClain's my second most important player. With him
I was talking about active guys who are currently.
Okay, I was gonna say he's not active either right now, so I wasn't. But that makes sense. Yeah, I think Friedl, out of the guys we've seen so far this year, he's definitely number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to TJ Friedl, him being out of the lineup, it is similar to where you're missing a Matt McClain or an Ellie, to where like it shifts so many things around. Like a Spencer Steer, even though he's provided big moments, he's out of the lineup. It doesn't change a whole lot. Even Candelario, who's been a fantastic hitter, one of the most reliable hitter in this lineup, when he's gone, it doesn't change a whole lot because of guys having to move around, because of platoon players having to play in a situation where they're not well equipped to succeed. When TJ Friedl's not out there, this team takes a major dip. So if we're excluding Matt McClain, yes, I'll say TJ Friedl is the second most important player in the lineup.
I think Noel Marte could enter his name in that discussion too when he comes back and see how he plays.
No doubt. This team is going to take a major jolt if Marte plays at some form of capacity that he played at last year. Like this team looks so much better, both defensively and offensively, with Marte in every day.
Next, buy or sell, and we talk about expectations coming into the season. Last year, it felt like it gave us the juice to be like, you know what, this team could maybe make some noise, make a run at the wild card spot again this season. But it looks like that's maybe not the case. Either way, buy or sell, the Reds drastically let us down in the first half of this season.
I'm going to sell it. I don't think they drastically let us down. I think with this roster being 4 games below 500 with this lineup that we've been running out there, I mean, Bubba Thompson, Mr. Chattanooga, played, 15
Correct.
games at the start of the year. Connor Capel had 9 at-bats. I mean, you've heard of Beast playing almost every day, Fairchild playing almost every day. Yeah, I don't think this roster is a massive letdown. I think the injuries are a letdown, and I think it's upsetting where the Reds are right now. I don't think if you look at this roster that we've seen for the first however many games of this season, I don't think you could expect much more than this.
The roster hasn't been healthy, and that's the whole point of this. And so, no, I'm going to sell the fact that they let us down because they weren't there to let us down. Nobody's been here to let us down. The guys that have played consistently all season long, they've been, as Reed said, they've been what we thought they could be, or what they thought they were. And Ellie De La Cruz has been great. Hunter Greene, Nick Lodolo have been great. Andrew Abbott's been great. They really have missed zero time almost. Nick Lodolo missed a little bit. I think he missed a start or two. But outside of that, yeah, the guys that have been here that haven't missed playing time, they've been what we've expected and more. So they have not let me down in that sense. They have let me down in the sense that I would like to see them fight for the playoffs. And as Reed says, though only a game and a half out, it still seemed like there was such a big stretch there where they looked so uncompetitive that it was just disheartening. It took me away a little bit. But saying that, no, they have not let us down.
I'll buy this. The Reds have drastically let me down because they went 5-7 against the 5-2 in 7 games against the Chicago Cubs.
Damn.
Why couldn't they just be bad? So yeah, bye.
Bye. All right, buy or sell, and this is just up until the All-Star break. I'm gonna change this caveat just until the All-Star break. The Reds will finish top 2 in the division at the All-Star break. The Reds will be top 2 in the division when the All-Star game comes around.
That's so hard to project.
Yeah.
Because the Reds are a game and a half behind the Cardinals, who are in the second wild card spot. Like the final 4 teams are bunched by a game and a half. Oh man, that's so hard to predict. I'll sell. I think the Pirates are coming into their own. The Cardinals are playing good baseball, and I like what I saw from the Cubs in this 3-game series. So I'll sell. I think they'll still be in that. I think it'll still be very bunched up, but I'm just going to sell because I feel like that's the percentage play.
I'm going to buy it because after this Red Sox series, we have 7 games against Pittsburgh and St. Louis, and I would like to win those games. And I think winning those games will put us in the right there with either 2 or 3 at the All-Star break if we win both those series, and that's what I'm going to say we're going to do. So
I don't know how many division games we win. I almost like I look at these division games. I take it with a grain of salt because I don't believe the Reds are going to win any division games.
We have Greene and Lodolo in both.
That's good.
The Pirates and Cardinals series.
That's good. But I'm just looking specifically at the 3 series right before the All-Star game, and that is 3 with the Tigers at home, that is 4 with the Rockies at home, and that is 3 with the Marlins at home. Those 3 series are right before the All-Star break. That is the most important stretch of the season for the Cincinnati Reds, and I do think they will take the money there against
those 10 games.
Those horrible teams.
What do you need in those 10 games to be happy? Obviously, it depends on what we've done since then to see what the roster's
if they don't win 6 games, I will be upset.
See, I was gonna say 7, but yeah.
If they don't win 6, I will be furious. Like in fact, the season will be over if they can't take 6 away from those putrid teams.
Yeah, I was gonna say 7 just to say win each series.
But 7 would make me very happy. 7 would make me very.
Not all of them are putrid. One of them is
one
game worse.
One of them's terrible, just terrible.
The
other are putrid. The one is terrible, and that one plays.
You declared your season over already.
No, I didn't.
Didn't you get swept by the Braves?
Yeah, but
you said if you had to win one against the Braves.
No, I said if they don't win a game against the Braves and lose the series to the White Sox. They haven't lost the series to the White Sox yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right, buy or sell. By the way, Casey, Reds finish top 2. Do we hang the banner if they finish second in the division?
Well, I mean, it would feel like that at this point. I mean, we're at the very bottom, so
1.5 games from
half
second.
game. Yeah.
Still, I mean, we're at the bottom. I didn't say anything that's not true.
Bottom of the table. That's true. That's true. The final 2 buy or sells, they're more silly based, but here we go. The worst loss of the first half of this season was yesterday against the Pirates with the worst lineup I've ever seen. While Hunter Greene throws a dime and you lose in the series finale.
No, my sell. My worst loss of the season so far is still Ellie's 3-error game in Philly because everyone thought he should be burned at the stake after that game.
I see.
It's still bleeding into the conversation now, so that's still my least.
I'm going to buy this one. I think yesterday's loss was abysmal. It took the life out of me. At no point did it look like they were fighting. It was just a loser lineup that was sent out there to forfeit the last game of a series that you could have won. Yeah, I'm going to buy this.
Selling. I don't got anyone in mind.
That's
selling
right.
those.
Reed is not a Reds fan. So in the final buy or sell, the best series win of this season was against the Dodgers at home. I'm going to buy.
Is the tiebreaker versus the Dodgers or the tiebreaker versus the Phillies more impressive?
Dodgers.
Those will certainly
So,
come into play
we'll
towards
see.
the end of the year.
Yeah, if either team gets a 30-game losing streak, we'll see what happens.
Phillies was crazy though.
Phillies
because
was crazy.
Immediately after that series, the Phillies won 100 in a row. So
And we had the worst month of baseball ever put
Yeah.
together. So
This is such an easy buy.
This-
You declared the season dead like a day before the
you
series started.
you weren't here to see how back on it was after we beat Philly, though, about a month into the season. Like, we were
Fair.
winning the World Series.
True.
And then May happened.
I'll take your word for it.
Does this surpass the three of 4 against the Cubs at home?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Dodgers beating
Swept the
beating
Dodgers.
Sweeping the
yeah.
Dodgers was
Crazy.
Fair enough.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that first game too with the India Grand Slam, and that was electric.
It was. It was electric indeed. We were there for that, by the way.
We
Shout out
were.
to us.
We were.
Shout out to us.
I was there.
You were there.
You were there.
That's right.
In-
Everyone
your
was
Dodgers
there.
shirt.
Shout
You
out
didn't
to
invite
us.
us. You didn't invite us that day. We had to go by ourselves.
Yep, you guys were all hanging out in right field, and I was just over meandering by myself.
Wearing your Dodgers gear.
I was wearing a Dodger shirt. Got it from Dodger Stadium.
I like your shirt, by the way.
Thanks. You like that?
I do. Looks nice. By the way, as we wind down off the bench today, I put this in our little show preview or little show rundown. Over the next 2 series, Jacob, Red Sox Pirates, what's the minimum amount of games we need to win?
3 and 3 through these 6. I can live with it.
What if they win 2?
I really want to not
Not think about that.
Yeah.
I don't listen.
I would love to win both.
I can't
series.
write off them winning 2 anymore. I keep
You win the first game of both series.
Probably. I keep saying just go 500, and then they never go 500. So now I'm going back to what Reed and Kirby or what Trace and Kirby do. I'm going to say, you know what? Go 4 games under 500 and we'll be okay. That's what we're going to do.
So
So
we're
if,
going 10-0 right before the All-Star break.
if we go
So
10-0
can
right
be
before
okay.
the All-Star break, that's 100% fine.
That's true.
So I'm not worried about these ones as much as maybe I should be. The Red Sox, by the way,
They're good.
they're pretty good. Jacob said they're the most mid team of all time, and they might be.
Well, they've been hot for the last week and a half.
The Red Sox are 8-2 in their last 10. They're 40-35, and they are 10. By the way, 40-35, still 10.5 behind the Yankees. Crazy, absolutely crazy.
They were 10-10. They were 20-20. They were 25-25. They were 30-30. They were 35-35, and now they're 40-35.
Ugh.
So they're pretty mid. They're just hot.
Yoshida a bust?
Is he not playing well?
Not this year. He was okay last year before he got
He was
hurt.
pretty good last year.
I'm looking around the league here. I mean, it's just so wide open in the National League. It's nuts.
The Reds have the 3rd worst record in the National League. They're a game and a half out from the 2nd wild card.
Has it ever been like? I mean,
We're too early.
it's so early.
It'll
I
settle.
know
I
it's
don't
so.
remember anything like this. No.
I don't remember anything like this, where it's literally it's except for 2 of the worst franchises to ever grace a field. It's every team is in the hunt, every single team, and
But it won't stay like this for long.
No.
You don't think, right?
nah.
I think teams will pull away at some point.
It'll even itself.
Right.
out, actually.
Who's
Like,
who's the team?
I
that,
think the win-loss
who's the
record
team
of
that
the
who's the
wild
team
card
that
team's gonna
pulls
be
away
about the
though?
same.
Who's the team that pulls away in the
The
National
Padres,
League?
I think, are
I
good.
think the Padres
the
will be
Padres
the
are
one.
Padres, I think, are good. I think one of the National League's Central teams will separate themselves from the pack.
I don't disagree.
I'm not gonna go out on a limb and guess who that is, but I think
But it's
one
going
of
to be
those
the
teams.
Cardinals.
I think it was. I don't know.
Could the Cardinals win the division?
No,
No.
that division's
The
wrapped up.
Brewers are the best team.
I don't know.
I think it's between the Pirates and the Cubs, but
Pirates. If the Pirates bats wake
Reds are
up.
dead.
they batted Santiago Espinal 5 yesterday.
That's
Hopefully that stops soon.
I can't. Diamondbacks are bad. I'm allowed to say the Diamondbacks are bad.
Yeah, Diamondbacks
Bad
were the
pitching.
easiest call that the team wasn't going to be very good because they were mid all of last year, and this shows you. Just get in the postseason, see what happens. Mid all of last year, and they made the World Series, and then everyone's like, "This team's going to be very good," and they showed up, and yeah.
Listen, that is it on our show today. Off the bench, Chatterbox Sports. We thank you all very much for listening on your radio, in your car, wherever you are. Thank you very much for joining us today. I know there's not a ton of sports on. The Reds aren't playing today. Just to try to enjoy the day. It's a beautiful spring day. Honestly, feels like winter out there. So just go out there, enjoy it, and try to probably stay hydrated too. Your body's going to need it. Outside of that, that's it. Off the bench, Chatterbox Sports. That's it. Kinder and Kev up next. ESPN 1410 Wing AM. And welcome in. Now it's just YouTube people. YouTube people, the guys who are supporting us. Thank you very.
What was that?
That's Reed's little laugh. The tee-hee-hee is a staple of Reed's of Reederoo's brain.
I do what?
Tee-hee-hee.
Doesn't ring a bell?
Tee-hee-hee. Never done it. What I wanted to do to end this show today, since again, no sports, we're just trying to fight through it here. I wanted to rank our favorite Cincinnati athletes, or the best Cincinnati athletes, whatever you got. And we're going to do a snake draft format here. So what we're going to do now, we have to pick who gets what pick in this draft. So I'm going to think of a number 1 through 10. I'll just go out and say I'll take the worst pick, which is 5.
I think Casey should pick first.
All right, Casey, you pick first.
So Casey
We're
can
taking
get-
5 players
So Casey
each.
can get
5
the one
players
guy
each.
that
And
you
we're
want.
doing we're doing Cincinnati, not Southwest Ohio. I can't take Dayton people.
I'll give you Dayton people. If you have a Dayton person, I'll let you take them. But yeah, Cincinnati for the most part.
All right. Casey start, Reed second, Elliott third, me 4, Jimmy 5.
It's fine.
Snake it. Jimmy gets 5, 6.
Let me get my Word document out here so I can. Hold on. Let me get my thing. OTB notes. And here we go. Casey, Reed, Elliott, Jacob, and Jimmy. All right. Casey Rue, you are up first. Who is the number 1 Cincinnati athlete to you, or the best of all time in the city?
The first overall pick. This is a lot of weight here.
A lot
Yeah.
of weight.
There's a lot of good choices to make here. There's Anthony Munoz, Johnny Bench, Pete Rose. I think I'm going to go way out of left field. I don't think you guys are ever going to guess this. Oscar Robertson.
It's a good pick.
Good one.
I think that's
That
probably
was my number 1.
I think that's going to be the number 1 choice, the number 1 athlete here. I mean, I think basketball players are probably one of the greatest athletes already in terms of just the rest of the leagues. And he's regarded as one of the best of all time. So
You're not going to hear me argue it. He's got a statue for a reason. One of the greatest to ever put on a Bearcat uniform. Yeah. Played for the Cincinnati NBA team, the Royals.
Yep.
People forget about that. How long did that team last? 2 years?
Still around? No, it was like decades. It was
Wow.
like,
Really?
like
Yeah, they were
decades,
here
and
for a
they
long
still
time,
exist
yeah.
to this day.
Yeah.
They're the Kings.
Sacramento Kings.
That's right. Okay, they relocated. I did not. Honestly, I didn't know that. I think
that's the
knew it.
reason that the Kansas City Royals baseball team are named the Royals, because Cincinnati relocated to Kansas City, and I think there was 2 Kansas City Royals at the time.
I see. Interesting. All right. That's Casey's number 1 rightful pick. Reederoo, number 2.
Played against Plumbers.
So if you're gonna give me the number 2 pick, there's better athletes that I could pick, but I'm gonna pick Aura. I'm gonna pick.
I'm going more with you than Casey.
I'm going King Griffey Jr.
Okay.
Is gonna be my first
one.
pick. I'll go Griffey. Grew up in PA, but he played at Moeller. Obviously came back to the Reds. He was probably the most famous baseball player for a decade and a half after he retired.
That's a good pick. King Griffey Jr., by the way, who did he play with or play for outside of the Reds? He played for the White Sox?
Mariners.
And Mariners, White
He
Sox.
was
Was
way
there anybody?
better
I'm
than
talking about
Mariners.
after the Reds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was White Sox and Mariners. I thought you were talking like just asking who
general.
he played
Yeah,
for. I was
I
like,
was
how do you
very
not know he played for the
concerned, yeah.
Mariners?
No. I was talking about after the Reds, when his career was over. It was just the White Sox, right? I'm pretty
He played
sure.
for the Mariners.
After, I'm saying. After.
Yes.
He played for the Mariners after?
Yes.
Oh. Is that real?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Hold on.
You fact checking?
Yeah, I'm fact checking. But that's a great pick. Yeah, he did go back.
We know.
Yeah.
We know.
All right. Sorry, I was wrong. I didn't know he went back. Fine. Good pick, though. That was my number 2 as well. So my number 1 and number 2 are off the board. I now have to go with my number 3, and I didn't want to pick him because I don't like him. But saying that, when you think of Cincinnati, you think of a guy that was born here, played at West High, baseball legend, should be in the Hall of Fame based on what he's done on the field. And Pete Rose is the number 3 overall pick in this draft. I don't think you can really argue it.
My number 1 Reds pick is still on the board, and I'm going to take him here at number 4. I'm going to take Barry Larkin.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to take Barry Larkin. I think Barry Larkin went to Moeller from Cincinnati, played for the Reds, one of the longest tenured Reds of all time. He was there for, a lot of World Series, everything like that. So Barry Larkin's my 4th pick, my number 1 Red on the list.
That's fair. Jimmy, you got back-to-back.
All right, number 5. I'm going to choose one second, typing it in.
He's writing it in.
Yep. All right, my pick is
Sandy
Sandy Koufax.
Good pull. Jimmy, good pull.
He got his education at the University of Cincinnati, and based on our rules, that counts. He was an absolutely amazing baseball player. Obviously, I never got to see him play. But, yeah, Hall of Famer, 3-time Cy Young, MVP. So Sandy Koufax.
Man, I thought I could have got Sandy Koufax with my 5th pick.
Yeah, I had him on my list.
That was a sleeper.
I did a little research before.
Okay.
I tried to find some.
Okay.
Athletes from Cincinnati. Enter.
Jimmy, you got another pick, back-to-back.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go.
Jimmy's lost in the snake already. Was shocker you were picking again?
No. I'm deciding.
This is Jimmy thinks a lot.
I'm gonna take him because I think that someone else will have taken him before we get around. So I'll go with Joe Burrow. I think it's
good pick.
I feel like that one's a tough one to argue. I mean, he's not like his legacy isn't insane yet, but I think the city of Cincinnati absolutely adores him in literally every single thing that he does. So. Joe Burrow.
In terms of if you guys would have let me get Joe Burrow, I would have won.
Burrow and Griffey?
I would have won.
That would have been dangerous. Coming back to me for pick 7, I'm taking, I think, the number 1 Bengals pick. I'm taking Anthony Munoz. He's the best Bengal of all time. He's the only Bengal in the Hall of Fame. I think Anthony Munoz is an easy pick as the best Bengal of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly can't argue it. He's been on this show a couple times. He's very nice. He looks very nice.
Very, very nice.
His
guy.
hands are massive.
That finger is wonky.
I was at a golf outing with him once, and I'll tell you what, legitimately massive mitts. Is he 7'7", 7'6"? How tall is he? 7'5"?
He's not 7 feet tall.
I felt like it when you're 5'8".
He said 7'7".
7'7".
He's Zach taller than
left
Edie.
tackle.
Taller than Edie.
This is where I'm gonna go a little bit personalized here, and Jacob knew I was gonna do it. I'm gonna go Kyle Rudolph, one of the greatest Cincinnatians to ever live. Grew up here, went to my grade school, went to my high school, had a very solid career at Notre Dame, and then a solid career in the NFL. By the way, also won the Pro Bowl MVP for I forget what year that was.
That's a meaningful award.
It is.
Right.
It is. Kyle Rudolph, one of the greatest picks of all time.
Tight end you.
And we go back to Reed.
I'll take Johnny Bench, greatest player to ever play the position.
Yeah.
In 2015, they honored the 4 greatest living greatest baseball players at the All-Star game here in Cincinnati, and they honored Sandy Koufax as the best pitcher. He was taken earlier. Johnny Bench as the catcher. Willie Mays. I forget who's the infielder. I forget who the infielder was, but Willie Mays was the outfielder. I'm gonna have to go back and think about who the infielder was there. But I'll take Johnny Bench.
That's a good one.
It's a good pick.
And it goes back to Casey for 2 picks.
Okay, so this is a tough one because I want to pick a Bengal here. I think I'm going to just pick Chad Johnson as my second pick.
Chad Johnson over Ocho Cinco? That's crazy.
Ocho Cinco, whatever.
You only get one.
You only get one. You only get one.
Oh, I have to choose the
Yes.
name. Oh, okay. Well, I prefer Ocho Cinco
Okay.
then. My third pick, I'm going to go with Joe Morgan.
Good
I'm
pick.
going to just
Great
take
pick.
another Reds legend, and he's one of the best second basemen. So
Joe Morgan was my dad's all-time favorite player. Favorite Red.
Joe Morgan was the best of the Big Red Machine, and people forget about that more often than not.
He was incredible.
I was going to go Joe Morgan if you didn't take Joe Morgan. So now I've got to think. I'm trying to stay away from Dayton. And I think we've actually got – I asked you before if we could take Dayton because I was trying to just
You could if you want.
But I don't like the – I'm gonna put a nix on Dayton, which would have
Okay.
given me either Roger Clemens or Mike Schmidt. who are both just incredible players. Instead, I am actually going to go Frank Robinson, who is without a doubt one of the greatest Reds of all time. When you talk about who the best Reds hitter of all time is, it probably should be Frank Robinson. Give me Frank Robinson.
Frank Robinson. Let me put it in here.
And then my fourth pick, no one's gonna see coming in. In fact, I bet you guys don't even know who it is.
My third pick. Let me get my list back out here. I am going arguably maybe my favorite player in a Cincinnati Reds uniform. I went a different route than everybody else here, and that's fine. Brandon Phillips, one of my all-time favorite players. I'm going to take him right here before Jacob. I knew Jacob was going to do it at some point, so I had to take him. Brandon Phillips made baseball fun for me, made me love the sport. I will say this. He had a 30-30 season. I think he could have been a Red forever. I wish he would have been. I know they traded him away at the end, but I wish he could have been a Red forever.
It would have been great. He was the first Red that really made me love baseball.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, he was on my list. Probably was going to take him here, but I'll go a different route. Elliot, you gave me the idea when you were talking about Kyle Rudolph before the show. I'm going to take a fellow Bomber, one of the best linebackers of all time, Luke Kuechly.
It's a good one.
Luke Kuechly went to Boston College. He won the Butkus Award there. He was picked in the first round. He had a short career, shortened by injuries, but when he was in the NFL, he was certainly one of the best linebackers of all time. So I'm going to take Luke Kuechly there.
Jimmy, 2 picks.
Jimmy, 2 picks.
Right. How old was Luke Kuechly when he retired?
28, I believe.
Yeah,
28.
he was young.
That's crazy.
All right, I'm gonna take I'm gonna take 2 picks here, very similar picks. I'm gonna start with Jason Kelce.
That was on my list.
Jason.
He is
One of the Kelce brothers.
one of the best centers. Obviously, he just retired. I think he will be missed in the National Football League, but I also think his retirement makes the Lions' offensive line the best in the league, so I'm happy about that. But, yeah, Jason Kelce, Cincinnati. And then with my second pick, how can I not do it? But I'm going to take his brother, Travis Kelce.
Good snake, Jimbo.
Boo.
Yeah.
Good snake.
I mean, I have to do it. He's one of the best tight ends the best tight end in football.
I think he's
one of the best tight ends ever.
When will there be discussion about him being the best? Because it's close, right?
It's already started.
already happened.
It's already started.
He's
between
better-
him and Gronk.
It's between him and Gronk,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez is out of the mix now.
Yeah, I don't even have Kelce, too. If I'm being honest. I have Gonzalez, too, still.
Okay.
Behind Gronk.
Gonzo's still 2 for some. I probably have Kelce as number 1.
I think it's Gronk by a mile.
Really?
Gronk dominated when he was healthy.
Gronk could actually block as well.
The only Gronk play I remember is when he tried to play defense on that Miracle Miami play.
Yep.
That's what I'll remember his legacy for.
With my next pick, I'm going to build, I guess, the strongest O-line of all time. I'm going to take Andrew Whitworth, one of my favorite Bengals of all time. He was here when the Bengals were, losing in the first round of the playoffs all the time, and he had a great attitude, and he always talks very highly of Cincinnati. He rooted us on during the whole, playoff run after he was on the Rams, obviously, and got the better of us in the Super Bowl. But always love to see Whitworth succeed. Always love to see him talking and everything like that. He's one of the best to ever put on a Bengals uniform.
Another Bengal that probably should have been here forever, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Didn't want to pay him. All right. My final pick. No, I have 4 picks. This is my 4th pick?
Yep.
Okay, so I have my 4th pick here. It will be, again, this is a personal pick, but I'm going to do it because as a Bearcats basketball fan, whether or not you want to say the Bearcats failed during all those years with Mick Cronin, whatever, Sean Kilpatrick made basketball fun again for me. Watching the Bearcats, and again, whatever happened there happened regarding Xavier losses and losing in the first round every year, but he was by far the best Cincinnati Bearcat over the past 30 years, 25 years. So, Sean Kilpatrick.
I'm going with my 4th pick. There's several ways that I can go here. I've already gathered, I think, the best athletic team out of everyone else's. Like, I think I've got the most history here, but I want to do a cool one. So I'm deciding. You know what? Go ahead and give me. You know what? I'm just going to keep in theme. I'm going to take the greatest team. Give me Roger Staubach. I'll take Roger
Staubach. All right. Who was the Dayton guy you were going to take?
I already told you. I already said that out loud.
Oh, sorry.
Clemens and Mike Schmidt.
Mike Schmidt and Roger Clemens were the 2 that I was
That's right.
thinking from
Sorry.
Dayton. One day you'll listen.
I'm listening. I was just typing.
All right.
Okay, that leaves me with my final picks, right? Fourth and fifth.
Fourth and fifth.
To give him his respect, because I think he's definitely elevated his team and made it the team it is today. Lucha Acosta.
I knew you.
Oh God.
MVP. I mean, the dude deserves to be on this list, and he's fourth on my list, which I think is a lot of respect.
How many
if
goals last night?
If you're not watching him right now, it's a shame because he's one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest Cincinnati athletes to come through here.
It's a real shame.
Shame.
I believe that he's going to bring us a championship. I really do. And then for my final pick, this one's tough because I think I'm going to lean towards Bengals because that's just what my fandom is.
Do it.
I'm going to go with Ken Riley. Just give respect to the latest Hall of Famer. When you look at the stats, I mean, he's unbelievable. I never got to watch him, but if you look at the highlights, you just look at the stats. I mean, I wish I would have been able to see that. Absolutely. So.
All right, so here's the one that you guys, no one will know. Maybe some old fogies in the chat would know. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I was deciding between Roger Staubach and Jamar Chase last time. And I was like, do I want to take Jamar Chase? But I feel like my theme now is like the greatest of all time. So I picked like one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I picked the greatest catcher of all time. I picked one of the best center fielders. Frank Robinson's probably the best Reds hitter of all time. I'm going to go with the greatest light heavyweight champion of all time, Ezra Charles. If you guys don't know who Ezra Charles is, he is quite literally one of the he's probably the greatest light heavyweight champion of all time. The Cincinnati Cobra, graduate of Woodward High School. He won 120 matches. Fights. Ezra Charles. Yep.
It's the exit you take to go to TQL Stadium.
That's right. And he famously fought against Rocky Marciano at Yankee Stadium. He went up a weight class in the heavyweight championship. He's one of the probably 5 to 10 greatest boxers of all time.
How about that? Died young, too. Died at 53.
He fought 130 times.
Well,
that'll put you down.
That's fair. All right, my final pick, it was between a couple. I'm just going to stick with the baseball. And I have to go with the Hall of Famer, Joseph Daniel Votto himself. Nobody picked him. And I had it wouldn't be a list without Joey Votto on this list. I had to take him here. Again, Hall of Famer. It was between him and Big Uke. But I'm going to go obviously our red, Joey Votto.
I'm going to go back to the Stripes. I'm going to go back to the Bengals. I'm a big Bengals fan. I think that's kind of where my fandom lies. And, I'm going to go to the best defensive player I've seen play for the Bengals. I'm going to take Geno Atkins. I think Geno Atkins should be a Hall of Famer, should be in the short list of Bengals Hall of Famers from that last era. And I absolutely loved watching him play, and he'll be my last pick.
All right.
And Jimmy.
I'll round it out. I was deciding I had to get a Reds guy on here, but I was deciding obviously between like Ellie De La Cruz, but I thought that was a little bit too recent. And I know that Kevin Youkilis is from around here, and I'm glad you didn't take him because I figured someone would take Votto honestly earlier than this. But I'm going to go Kevin Youkilis. I mostly think of his time with the Red Sox, even though I didn't like the Red Sox back in the day because, they used to beat up on the Tigers. But, Kevin Youkilis, great player. And that rounds it out. My
dad coached the Uke. I remember when Kevin Youkilis made his debut and he hit a home run, I believe, in his debut. My dad, I remember picking up the phone book.
Yeah.
And called the Youkilis family. Own a jewelry store.
I did not know he played 28 games with the Yankees.
Kevin Youkilis, he married Tom Brady's sister.
Oh.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a stat.
Are they still married?
Stat
Yeah.
that.
Oh, my God. How about that?
Yep.
Kevin Youkilis. Oh, my God. Yeah. Julie Brady.
Yeah.
How about that? Good for him.
I think
Good for
Uke's
Big
got
Uke.
3 rings himself.
What a family.
He's got 3 rings.
That's just the GOAT family.
07. He wasn't on the 13 team. He might have been on the 09 Yankees.
Yeah, I think he was he? Kevin Uke.
No, he's on the Sox.
Boston.
All right.
He was on the Yankees in 2013 for 28 games.
Also, some honorable mentions I had that nobody had. Nobody took Boomer.
Boomer's on my list.
No one took Jamar Chase.
Anderson.
Nobody took Jamar Chase.
Ken Anderson.
I had Johnny Cueto on there, one of the best Reds pitchers ever. We had all the Kelsey brothers on there.
AJ Green.
Which one?
A.J.
AJ
Green.
Green. AJ Green was not on there.
Some
I had-
famous people that we missed were probably Joe Nuxall from Hamilton, Ted Klaczewski. Talk about aura, ripped off his sleeves.
Oh yeah.
Cut off his sleeves. Then you're talking about Tom Seaver. And then guys, who's the other one that I had on my list? Oh, St. X grad, Jim Bunning, Hall of Famer,
Nice.
and Senator.
How about that? I was trying to
Rose Lavelle,
Rose Lavelle.
Rose Lavelle.
Rose Lavelle.
who's the Rich Franklin from Harrison, UFC fighter.
Oh yeah. Anybody else? I was trying to think of Dalton.
Dalton.
I wouldn't have ever picked Dalton, but Dalton is certainly one of them. Carson.
He is a player that played for Cincinnati Sports.
That's correct. I had Carson Palmer on the list, even though.
How do we feel about Jay Bruce? Just for
Jay Bruce is never
notoriety.
on that list, but I love Jay Bruce.
Jay Bruce better than Brandon Phillips.
Better player maybe, but Brandon Phillips is my favorite.
All right, fair enough.
Jay Bruce was on. People forget Jay Bruce was on a ton of teams after the Reds, a billion teams.
But one guy who I
he
think
was on the Mariners. Jay Bruce was on the Mariners.
Was he really?
Oh yeah.
No. One guy who I think could sneak in there is you're talking about current era Bengals. Tyler Boyd, top 10 in receiving yards and dragging himself off the field in that Miami game. He has a lot of great memories in Cincinnati.
He's in Tennessee now, right?
Tennessee.
Yeah.
T.J. Hushman-Zada is always a fan favorite. Maybe again,
Nice
not one
name.
If we just go the best players to play in Cincinnati, Terrell Owens did play here.
Yeah,
That's
that's
fair.
true. I'm trying to think of the obscure sports, and Reed took boxing away, and we do have Rose Lavelle, but
No Sam Hubbard pick.
no Sam
Cincinnati's
Hubbard.
finest.
He
Cincinnati's
didn't,
finest.
he didn't deserve to be on this list. I thought Barry Larkin being the first
He was my number one pick, Red.
out of any of the Big Red Machine guys was crazy. Like Griffey and Larkin were taken before the Big Red Machine guys.
I think Larkin's the most Cincinnati Red. Oh, Pete. But I don't like, I don't
took-
like Pete. So,
I
okay.
took Pete. Yeah, I took
And he
Pete.
did take Pete before me.
Okay.
So that's
Fair enough.
Anything else? Oh, did you guys see that story of the guy who snuck into Kings Island? You see
No.
that?
Yeah, that's
No.
a terrible story.
What happened?
A guy jumped the fence of Kings Island, got hit
Banshee.
by the Banshee. I don't know.
Head
if
taken
He
off?
went to
I
grab.
don't-
He went
I
to
don't know
go
what
grab
happened.
one of his items that he lost on the ride, and he got hit while there was people riding it.
That
People-
happens a lot.
People say that it was pretty detailed, gruesome, graphic.
Like
So
middle-
it was like it was hitting a deer. It was basically what they felt.
Oh no.
Like middle of the day too.
So there's a ride called Batman. It's at a Six Flags. It's a low hanging coaster like Banshee, and same thing. Someone hopped the fence to get a hat, and ride came through. This girl punted a dude, decapitated a man. The girl tore up her leg.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're going 65 miles an hour and you kick someone's bare skull. She massacred her poor leg.
Oh no.
And by the way, everyone that gets scared of roller coasters and amusement parks and stuff like that, all the injuries are from dumb things like that.
Yeah.
It's almost never
Malfunctions.
malfunction. By the way, in one day, three different people died at Kings Island in the 80s
People do forget about that.
Wow.
Was that
from different things.
different things?
What was the Son of Beast?
No one ever died. From
Nobody
this.
ever
there was a
died,
death
but
on
they
that.
got
They
injured
got
on that
hurt,
one.
yeah.
Just
They
injuries.
got badly injured on that one. I know there was the incident where somebody went to Kings Island and went into the water and it got shocked to death.
Yeah, so that little pond that's right next to the Viking ship, there was a live wire that was in the water, and someone, like on a hot day like this, splashed water up on their friend and fell in because they electrocuted themselves. And then their friend went in to save them because he just saw, can't see someone getting electrocuted. It
Yeah.
just happens. So they dove in to help him, and he died. And then on the same day, a ride malfunctioned and someone fell off one.
Interesting.
Wow.
Tough day for OKI. Still popping them.
It is. By the way, that's it. Our show today. By the way, real quick, Kings Island had, when they were testing the Wind Seeker, you know what that one is? That's just that swing. I remember they first tested that, and I remember one of the stories that came out was one of the dummies, because they had full body dummies on there, and they were swinging around. One of the body dummies fell off it.
Oh, really?
And fell all the way to the ground. That was the only thing I remember from that one. And I've never ridden. That's the only ride at Kings Island I've never ridden
That's a
because of
nightmare.
that story.
What is it, Delirium? Is that what it's called?
I like Delirium.
Isn't that the one that spins in?
No, well, Delirium's
but
going up and down. Windseeker is just a bunch of
Yeah,
swings.
it's
Oh,
just
I
straight
got you.
up.
But that's it. Off the bench, Chatterbox Sports. Thank you guys very much for watching. We got Quiplash coming up next.